rate decision coming out at 2. Then Fitcher Powell will come onto the mic at 2:30. The big boys are going to have all the coverage for you guys. So hope you had a great day with us today. But
Thank you.
It's time now to go over and see what the FOMC has.
Good day, man, guys. Let's go Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's funny. We always cheer Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's like one of the only things that's down. So we do want to cheer for it to go back up right now. Bitcoin down to 11.6. What's wrong with that thing, man?
It's not Google today.
Let's go. It's not Google. It's not Apple. It's not NVIDIA. It's not Palantir. It's not the Nasdaq. It's not the S&P 500. But we do have rates.
Yes, going
down. Be cut.
Get down.
They're going down. They're getting lower. Canada started the day with lowering interest rates as well. So Canada went a quarter point today, down to 2.25.
If our bank was all about the labor market, we would be doing like half point at a time, because our unemployment rate is to the moon, baby. That's how we do it in Canada. We can win the World Series, but 7% unemployment is pretty bad for us. But the labor market's going to be of concern today.
I mean, we let in millions of people or something without any jobs.
But that doesn't hurt things, Sean.
I don't know if it does or not. I'm not in charge of that. I'm not in charge of that.
Okay, I was being sarcastic. I mean, when you type something sarcastic in a chat, it's not obvious, but when you say it, it should be, Sharif.
Right,
I was being sarcastic. No, so look, it's going to be a quarter point cut. It's 99.99 repeating, or actually it's not, because they don't actually bother doing that on the site. So that's not what I'm concerned about. I mean, I can show you, what, it's 97.8, or it was 99.
What happened?
It's 97.8. This was 99.
It was 99.9999.
Yeah, it was 99.99. So now there is a 2.2% chance that they don't. Whatever. They're going to. But December is all the way up at 85%. This is what we'll watch when Powell is speaking, because I think we're concerned. Concern's not the right word. We want to hear what he has to say about the labor market. If that is still a concern to them, despite not getting data, then I think you could see a shift here. Maybe we wanted to reaffirm that this is actually true, because if the market is expecting further cuts, almost a done deal, they're thinking in December, well, you need to hear the language from Powell that is going to affirm that. If that's not the case, I think we could have some downside. That won't be till 2:30. You can have the prepared statement, but at 2:30, that's when the juice comes in. But I think we know what's relatively oh, that's right, that wick on Google. I think we know what's relatively strong. It's been Alphabet all day today. So I have eyeballs particularly on that one. We'll see. I like the rubber band action. We always talk about this. Like, what do you like right away? Usually like some mean reversion, just like maybe buying some dips or shorting some rips, key support and resistance levels going into, the actual 2:30 moment. But for the start, probably quiet, because we know exactly what we're getting here.
Yeah, it should be. I want to quickly check on gold a little bit here, just to see what that's been doing. So they're heading to the downside right now. Gold did make a move earlier on in the day, upside there, and yeah, now it's starting to fade a little bit. Not much going on over here. I mean, interest rate sectors that should benefit from lower rates. I mean, I think tech should benefit from lower rates. Obviously, IWM and things like that. Some of these small cap names should be able to run, because they still need capital, right, to operate. A lot of these names won't even be making any money. So if we can get an IWM going again here today, and it's up more than the Nasdaq and the ES combined is the Russell 2000, and it's trying to break out right here as well. So I think this gives you clear sail for that breakout of the IWM up through 255 and higher. I mean, I think this is probably already all-time highs. It was really lagging while the Nasdaq was going before, and then there it is. Yeah, take it out at 245. So that looks like that's going to continue to go higher. I am a little bit puzzled. We talked about why Bitcoin might be on the downside there as well. But no, today, we haven't gotten much data from the U.S. government. So the fact that the interest rate is going to lower by another quarter point and then again in December leaves a little bit of room for wiggling, because if and when, I mean, I don't want to say if, the government, I would think, gets back working at some point, and then we will get those numbers and we'll be able to figure out exactly what they look like, from the unemployment side of things. You just made that sort of joke about Canada there. So as we go, we're going to try to be more comfortable with what these numbers are looking at. And right now we do have that quarter point. So we are working on on that today. And, you know, Amazon upside, I'm a little short on the market right here on the TQs, just holding it against that. It's that same trade that we had right when we left you guys. So it does go all the way down. Like we made about $1 there. That was just a posted bid. And then I came back from the workout, whatever, and started just getting out more. And if we break through VWAP, then we will exit out of that particular position. But yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind all these trades here today. Pretty easy going. We're at highs. I think a good strategy. Palantir right now is mooning again to 198. Again, we weren't down here to do anything with that sort of a move, but that was right back into the 200 period moving average. So there was a good opportunity to dip buy on Palantir as well today. All right, look, we're all super excited. Let's go over to Adair. She's got some early news for us.
Yeah, I will go over the FOMC, what to expect, a little bit closer to that number. But again, as Sean and Neil mentioned, keep an eye on the IWM, keep an eye as well on the US dollar, which we know had a pretty significant move on the last FOMC meeting. And I also think it's worth noting here, just in general, be aware here of the CME FedWatch tool as well to see what we're going to be expecting for the next meeting. Right now, we're seeing about an 85% chance of a further rate cut in December, should the rates in fact be cut at this meeting, which again, we are expecting. Let's talk here though about KVUE, because this name is jumping with significant volume compared to the previous volume today. We have commentary coming from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is the Secretary of the Health and Human Services Department. He's talking about Tylenol, saying that there's not enough evidence to show that Tylenol definitively causes autism, but some studies seem very suggestive, quote unquote. So why this is significant is because we know KenVue's stock and the company's reputation took quite a hit when we had the HHS come out and say, alongside President Donald Trump, that there were studies to suggest that the use of Tylenol when women were pregnant could lead to autism. Now it seems like HHS Secretary Kennedy is saying that there is not enough evidence to make that definitive case, but that the studies are suggestive. The stock seeming to like this news, guys. Back to you.
All right.
Yeah, that stock has been under a lot of pressure. Bouncing now off of fresh lows at $14. Go for it, KenVue. Why not? If it can get going. Probably not going to be a trade. You know, when we look at futures, or like, I like to pick individually strong names relative to the futures, and then maybe like some weak names just to prefer a direction one way or another. I think Google definitely fits the bill if we look for some long bounce plays if we head to the downside. But as far as a fade play, I'm kind of looking at IBIT. I know it, like IBIT had that great bottom that it just turned off of here, but getting into the volume weighted average price and showing some resistance up here also at 64 on IBIT, those will be a couple of levels. And because someone had a good point in the chat saying, well, last time we popped, even though we got what was expected. True. But then there was that reversion trade. Like it wasn't a top at 2 o'clock on the spike that you couldn't just find shorts on, because we didn't stair step up or anything for a half an hour. It was more like we got a pop and you could certainly short it, and then you could go long for support and go back and forth until 2:30 when we pick a little bit of a direction. So I want to have some ideas that I can fade if we go up in addition to ones that were down. I'm actually in SMCI. I don't know if this is going to be the one. Kind of had it at VWAP and didn't give it enough of a chance, and then shorted when it broke back underneath the low of the day after a test. So I have a stop on this, but I don't know if this is the one I want to add because it's sitting in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to look at IBIT because A, it's moving a little bit more, and, well, it's moving a bit more. There is no B.
There's no end to that.
I'm like, no, I don't have a second reason for it. It's because it's moving more.
Look, I mean, this is not like this, first of all, I just tweeted it out, and you guys can tell me, but I don't know, like, and that was just, I just asking the question pretty simply here. We had Palantir long at the beginning of the day, right? We still have a little piece, and there it is breaking the highs. Do we take 200 out here today on Palantir? I mean, A, yes, B, no there, if you can get that over there on Twitter, but I think maybe yes. But no, I was gonna say, you know, the economy's the stock market's at all-time highs heading into this cut that's happening in 5 minutes. So it'll be interesting to hear some of the questions that Powell takes here at the podium and how he answers them about like what data points are they looking at to possibly slow the rate cut cycle down. We already know that, as Adair just mentioned, there 85% chance that we get the other cut there in late December. So it looks like we'll do one now. We'll go through all of November, and like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, the government's back operating at that point, and then we'll be able to see.
That's the other point.
Yeah, and that'll be the other point about we'll be able to see the more data, and and then where do we go from there, basically, on all of that, right? So I'm interested to see, you know, just about what this market gives us here at 2 o'clock and then into 2:30. You know, ADP is going to be a big number as well. You know, these little small cuts, you know, stocks like Open Door or anything like that, like this is not going to be a play for housing or anything like that. It's just a quarter point. I mean, I don't know if that moves the needle as far as mortgages or housing demand. It's not impossible. I mean, I think last time we had the idea for Open Door, and I don't think it did anything that day on September 7th.
Well, my thing was if we got, oh, look at that, because Control Alt Escape said if Powell gives us 50 points, there would be no more blackened tilapia for lunch. Well, that's true. But if we got
that's not true at all, actually. There will still be, there'll be a lot of tilapia.
They probably have so much left.
Right. Cater don't care about it.
But I think that's a long, if we got it somehow, which we're not going to, a surprise. If we got a surprise 50 basis points, then I think you'd have something like an Open Door. But that didn't happen last time, and so I don't even, didn't really do anything. I would think the same thing here.
If Powell starts talking about like, hey, we need to be patient, all that, then I think we get a little tipsy-turvy on the market. I think we start to go to the downside because we don't want to hear the words patient or let's see or anything like that, because you want to make sure that the rate cut cycle is still intact and that they are going to do it. Because if all of a sudden they don't cut rates in December, I think this market, being at all-time highs and where the valuations are, probably start to come back down to the downside. So that's like, we're looking for words like that from Powell. I want certainty from him, and I don't think we're going to get exact certainty because of the government shutdown. So it's going to be interesting where those odds go in December, because you definitely want to continue the rate cut cycle. And if he's talking about like, wow, we're going to wait to see what we're going to do on December, we have some different members that are coming on board. We do know all the government appointees are appointed by Trump for the Fed. Not all the government, the Fed members are appointed by Trump.
January is 42%.
Or another one.
Like, you've got to consider, like, the market is
so
at 85% for December. Locked for today, 85 for December, and 42% again for January already. So it absolutely is going to matter what he says. So we'll see what happens. I mean, ultimately, like, the market's been trend down, so I don't mind being in something that's been trending or like fading a bit of a pop early, but it does matter a lot what he's going to say. And then and also the other thing we talked about this morning, which I guess we didn't mention now, is the quantitative tightening. We could expect to see some comments on that. And I know there was someone that was asking me about JD in the chat. I responded to you in the chat. That's a long consolidation. This stock is more of a China, get a deal with China breakout play. Prefer Alibaba myself, but you get a deal firmed, and this stock has been consolidating essentially for like half a year. I think then it could break out. Until then, it's kind of a boring stock, and certainly not something I'll be looking at this afternoon. So right now, IBIT, Alphabet, SMCI, those are the three things I'll have my eyeballs on in about 2 minutes when we get a quarter point cut. And
all but certain.
See on the side there, you can actually see real time when we were talking about Bitcoin, right? Like, I don't have to tell you.
Oh, down. So I didn't even know it was down 3%.
Obviously, 24-hour market,
Not
but
great.
in the time of the open market, it's compared to everything else has been relatively weak. So we'll see how that does perform. I tend to want to short things that are weak.
I thought we already got
buying things that are strong.
Yeah, ServiceNow is tonight, Adara? Must be, yeah. Okay, I thought ServiceNow reported a couple of days ago, but I guess it did not. It just hadn't moved down there yesterday. Okay, off of 950. Okay, that's ServiceNow. I was just going through some of the reports that are tonight. We got Meta tonight as well. So there's lots of big earnings, but now we are a minute and a half away to Fed. So, you know, we're going to go live. Adara's going to have it. We may have it up on the screen or not, but it's going to be this year's place to watch all the market movements in just a couple of seconds. It will be open, and we are good to go. What's up, Adara?
Definitely stick with us as well for 2:30 p.m. when Fed Chair Jerome Powell takes the podium. I'll be covering that live for you guys in exactly 58 seconds. We're going to be getting that U.S. Fed interest rate decision. 4% here is the forecast. That'll be down there from the previous of 4.25%. So we are expecting to get another rate cut following last month's cut. Now, again, keep an eye here for dissenting votes. We had commentary from an analyst from JP Morgan right before the decision saying that they're not expecting any dissenting votes that are hawkish, but we could have some votes, of course, that are a bit more dovish. So again here, in just 30 seconds, we're going to get this number. How this is going to work, in case you're new here with Trader TV Live Fed Time, we're going to cover the number. I'll take a look at what the market's doing, and we'll send you right back to Sean and Neil for the market-moving madness of this Fed decision. However, I will be keeping an eye on the Fed rate statement, what words and phrases were changed, and any other commentary here with regards to the Fed, including the move of the dollar and the CME Fed Watch tool. So that's basically how this is going to go. And in 5 seconds, we are going to get that number 2 and 1. FOMC here with the interest rate decision coming out. I'm just waiting for this to populate, 4% as expected. So we did get a 25 basis point cut as expected. Market trying to move a little bit higher, oscillating here on that print. Guys, let's talk about that number, a 25 basis point cut.
All right, vote 10-2. So 2 dissents, it looks like, right there. So we just get out.
Yeah,
our futures trade went up. We emptied out that. We want to be flat heading into this as well. So, yeah, we're just going to wait, like we said, to hear if there's anything in the writing about what's going on right now. But it does look like the Fed, the Fed does cut by 1/4 of that 1%. So, as expected, it's pretty much a ho-hum moment right now. If anything, that might have been a short there in the market because it's pulling back to reality right now. But yeah, nice move. Nasdaq up 0.4. So let's remember that. Nasdaq 0.4, ES now 0.2. You know, that could be something that we put in the chat for a vote. You know, does the Nasdaq or does the ES close green or red today? Because right now you're hovering around both of those spots. All right, Adair, did you find anything?
I have a little bit more here. So apparently we had actually a really interesting dissenting vote. As Sean mentioned, it was 10-2, but not really exactly how that seems. We actually had Fed Schmidt dissenting. He was saying he didn't want any rate cuts. Meanwhile, we had also at Fed's Myron dissenting in favor of a 50 basis point cut. So this is rare. We had 2 dissenting votes, 1 hawkish, 1 actually dovish. And I also want to mention as well, Fed saying that they're going to stop shrinking their balance sheet as of December 1st. So again, very interesting dissenting votes here for the FOMC. They're going to stop shrinking their balance sheet as of December 1st. If I see anything else here, I will let you know.
Thank you. So they are going to stop the run off the balance sheet. Though.
Oh, they are going to stop it. Okay, so what does that do for the market? I mean, yeah, the market is just chilling out right now. The dollar's gone. It was up there. We can see if there's any sort of a movement in the DXY.
I mean, they're not increasing the balance sheet at least, right? Because it's one thing to stop the drip, but if you increase the balance sheet when the market's at all-time highs, like, yeah, let's just pump. Let's just pump up the bubble already. By the way, when the market broke out just now, I shouldn't say broke out. When the market broke, the volume-weighted average price, the Nasdaq here, I was watching IBIT, it didn't even break resistance. But when the market pulled back, you saw it go down. So it's been showing an unwillingness to break back out. If I see that happen again as we break higher, then my first thought will be like just take a quick little short trade if we get back underneath VWAP there on the Nasdaq in particular. So IBIT is still holding for some relative weakness. Nothing too crazy. 1 dissent in either direction I don't think moves the needle in terms of expectations. Obviously, we have Powell in 25 minutes, but let's go back to Adair.
Yeah, I really want to mention here this Fed rate statement. I'm reading through the statement. Basically, what happens here is you have the statement, and a lot of times we'll just have certain sites show what has been added or removed since the last statement. In this case, the last statement was on September 17th, 2025. So what's interesting here is they mentioned that we actually have an expansion here of economic activity at a moderate pace. What I really want to mention, though, here, too, is they specify that inflation has moved up since earlier in the year, and it remains somewhat elevated. Previously, it just said inflation has moved up and it's somewhat elevated. Now it seems like the Fed is trying to say that inflation has actually increased from how it was increasing prior this year. So potentially an acceleration there of inflation being indicated or implied here by this Fed statement, which is pretty interesting. They also said as well that downside risks to employment have risen in recent months. So once again here, it looks like they are still really concerned about inflation, but they're more concerned about the employment issues here. Back to you.
All right. So kind of good talk there. I was looking to see about a trade on the futures right now because, you know, trading individual stock is fine. It's just I don't think the Fed's not reacting, like stocks aren't reacting individually to it, which is why I actually wanted to, hey, where did I had a chart of the dollar up. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is right here. The DXY, kind of the same reaction as the market right now. Shoots up there, then comes back basically right to where we were, and now it's starting to head up as the dollar just kind of shrugs this one off again. And, you know, this is the thing. Like, we love to do this kind of stuff, you know, cover, obviously, Fed rate days. But today's day was a 99% chance of what happened, and that was the cut. So the market's already priced all of this in. So the dollar just staying in its proper range, and I think that that's probably what we thought was going to happen. Anyways, you know, big producing stocks like Caterpillar. See, I type in CAT, it doesn't even come up as an option. I'm going to assume it's on the New York Stock Exchange. You know, again, look, I can't even, it's not even moving with a dollar spread right now. Apple, maybe. As the market goes up and down, I could see some play there. But yeah, see, here's Apple not doing much. So
Tesla's moving a little bit.
Tesla's moving. Let me just check. Let's just check XLF. Let's check some of the banks to see if they're doing anything, as banks tend to make money on both sides of this curve anyways, and they're going downside, so the bank's not really liking this day today, and again, and as an expected day. All right, I'm gonna go short on the TQs if it breaks. So there it goes, the TQs does break. We get short there at 70. I don't know, I'm not trying to trade this with a lot of shares, just trying to see if we break the day's low, where is there to go? Well, hopefully lower, and if not, then we can get out if this does a little dance back up into maybe, I don't know, let's try the 50 period or the 200 period. Again, it's not going to be a big, huge trade here. Let's just see what happens. If the Fed wants to continue this march, or the market wants to continue this march lower, then we'll be here for it. But right now, it's kind of a nothing burger. We're going to have to hold. Oh, there it goes all the way back up. So we tried to punch the low of the day there. Well, we got it, but bouncing right off of that. If anything, it was just support at the end of the day. So like just another normal day here where once again, the market finds support and bounces off. So okay, we tried, and I'm not out of it yet. We're going to wait to see if it does hit this 50 period moving average, but that's it for now.
And at the intersection of science and crypto innovation, Silo Pharma, Nasdaq SILO, was rewriting the playbook. Their lead drug SPC15 is advancing toward FDA submission, a potential first-in-class intranasal treatment for PTSD and anxiety, and data already showing strong safety results. At the same time, Silo is expanding its digital assets model, investing in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, while securing cutting-edge tech designed to strengthen and future-proof its crypto strategy. From lab to ledger, Silo Pharma is where breakthrough science meets blockchain innovation. Learn more at silopharma.com. Shout out to them, I appreciate them. And speaking of Bitcoin, before we go back to Adara, I'm trying to short the pop here because the first move was down, so I'm going to short pops in IBIT in particular. So
yeah, okay.
I like crypto, but today it's relatively weak, so I'm going to try to short some pops. And then going back to, whoops, there we go. I had a stop from lower, so it just got in and out flat. But I'm going to jump right into this, short it back into this VWAP, or I guess the 63.5. But the other thing before we go to Adara is check out gold. Probably worth a watch. It tried to break out as well, and for whatever reason, doesn't seem to want to fly. So it's not going the other direction relative to the market. Right now, it's just following the Nasdaq. I'm not sure how long that ends up holding. This could be a potential breakout. Let's go back to Adara.
Sean was just talking here about the volatility in the Nasdaq. You can really see that in the IWM as well, which, as mentioned there by Sean and Neil earlier, this does tend to be a little bit more sensitive to rates. We had a brief break here into high of day, then coming all the way back down here to that 249.60 area. So lots of volatility here for that Russell 2000 as it reacts to this decision. Now, here is the look here. Kind of hard to read. I apologize. I guess the red here crossed out indicates what was in the past statement. Underline indicates what was added here for this statement. Again, it is worth noting here that talking about here slower job gains and a slight increase there for that unemployment rate. It is super interesting here as well that we did have those two dissenting votes. I will post this statement as well on X at TTP Research so you guys can read it a little bit better there. But I also want to talk about the US dollar, which we mentioned does tend to have pretty volatile moves sometimes on these Fed rate decisions. Certainly the case here, we get a little bit of a push to the upside here. This is a 3-minute chart for the DXY. So quick look here at some of these different assets and equities that are moving as we react to this rate decision and the statement. Back to you.
All right, let's
just remind me to have the DXY up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just talked about the dollar 2 seconds ago. Yeah, so yeah, watch out for the US dollar there if you're all about that. And which I think today will play, right? I mean, do you have any comments on the dollar?
It wasn't moving that much, but I just wanted my trading view chart to have that up. Because sometimes I'll look at the VIX. I think today maybe look at the dollar because we're looking at some gold and some IBIT, so that it could be a little bit more pertinent. I was, like I said, I was in and out flat because I still had a stop order in IBIT. So that triggered me the second I punched in, but I jumped back in to it just underneath that 30 level. Like I said, want to give it to that quarter. So we'll see if we can get to the low of the day here. I mean, the market's still dancing. There hasn't actually been a definitive.
No. I punched the bottom and that was it.
Yeah, like there's a wick to the top, there's a wick to the bottom. We were downward trending before, so why wouldn't we still be downward trending now? Again, nothing too crazy overall, so that leads me to not get away from what you would have thought before. I might try to. Oh, I might not get a chance. See, I jumped out of SMCI short. I'm like, it's not really doing anything. I should have just held on to it. If this pops up, I might jump right back into that trade because I said if it's downward trending, I'm going to like that for weakness more than strength. And some of the bigger names here, like Alphabet, I know we pull back a little bit, but Alphabet not even moving off the highs, just chilling out, up 2% because it's Google's world, and we're all just living in it at the moment.
Right, the sooner you realize that, the better, because Gemini is going to be hot, and wait till you see the check that they're going to write to Apple for the install base there on Gemini. So I think that's going to be a huge windfall for Apple and for Google as well. I think it'd be for both of them right now. So yeah, like tonight, just based on what we're seeing right now in the market, tonight we have ServiceNow, we have Teladoc, eBay, Starbucks, Carvana, Google, Microsoft, and Meta. So like all those big ones there, Microsoft, Meta, Google, looking at what they're doing now, unfortunately nothing right now for Meta, almost as if there was no interest rate announcement or anything like that. Microsoft is same kind of ways I'm betting now, not doing too much. I think right now, see, again, like, welcome to rate cut again. When we get a definitive action, one way or the other, is one thing, but today it's just the same path. And we now have to wait to see what those questions and answer period, what happens, and that's at 2:30. It's going to be live here at Trader TV Live. We'll discuss those discussion points, and then if we hear something that attracts us to that, then we'll talk about it. Adara also will be coming through with more of that news as well.
And we got big earnings too that the market has to digest tonight as well. So that's going to be weighing on things for sure. Like we get the first swath of big tech earnings tonight, which my guess at this point is a much bigger deal than the cut we were expecting. Because this is, I don't know, but fair to say that this is the least amount we've moved in the first 10 minutes in a while on a Fed day?
Probably. I mean, it's not, I think it's right where it was.
Yeah.
I mean, we started this day, this market, I says, like, let's make a point here. The ES was up 0.16, and the Nasdaq was 0.41 when we started. So I think you're 100% right there. There is literally no movement at all in this market. I'm still waiting for Palantir to break 200. I do have a buy through that, just like we nailed that yesterday. I mean, amazing that Palantir breaks 200 today possibly, and it was just yesterday that our good friend NVDA also broke 200, and then today topped out at 212. And again, this name having a hard time going anywhere. Nasdaq right now flat on this move, but we do have, is that a call to Adara? We can go there. Cancel. Okay, no call there. But yeah, so I'm just short here the Nasdaq. I'm gonna get another piece out here at 10. Oh, here it comes in. So actually, I'm waiting at 6s. But just again, relatively flat on all of this. We tried to punch the bottom. Now we have a little bit of this short again as it went back up and we re-shorted right there. So now it's coming in just a bit here. I don't know. It's already out. We're out. We talked about gold coming through again as well. Nothing on gold, it looks like. The IWM, I talked about that just before we threw to this number. And again, nice move on the rate cut. And then it was like, wait a second, we already knew that. Comes right back into VWAP, and we kind of are where we were at the beginning again. So not many individual stories here on rate cut day.
The 10-year crept up a little bit, but that's...
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Yeah,
not
so
much.
Maybe a good look there on bonds or T-bills.
I was just checking to see if there was something moving a little bit more, and someone mentioned in the chat.
Look at the dollar.
Look at the 10-year, and again, like the 10-year not doing a heck of a lot on the 3-minute. Yields just over that 4 mark. So yeah, as I said, if something starts going crazy, then we'll be all over it. But until Powell talks, maybe we don't get it. So take a little bit out of IBIT. I don't think we're going to flush. Play inside the range, because I don't think we're going to flush. So I'm going to get some out. I'm going to sit back on the offer until something changes. It was a huge mistake to get out of SMCI, obviously, but I kind of thought the market was going to move a little bit, so let's shift to something else. Like, that's actually tanking now, or breaking the low of the day. Yeah, that was a foolish out. That thing, SMCI is not it.
Well, you had your stop. Your stop was just 2.
Yeah, but I moved my stop. My stop was here, but I moved it down, because I'm like, it's Fed.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Like on Fed, I'll usually tighten stop because what happens is if it breaks first level and then breaks the second level, like all the stops are hitting when it breaks this one, and you might get really badly slipped if we had gone crazy to the upside. But it ends up being the wrong decision. But I do it every single time, so I'm not really all that upset with it. Going back over to gold here, GLD, nothing. It's actually breaking down, so it looks like we're just headed to the downside here. Not much of anything is showing some strength. So it's 15 minutes till Powell hits the podium. More or less everything is breaking lower. So hold on to some shorts and short some pops as well.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you, but I'm not doing anything. I'm kind of just waiting now. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yes, yes, yes. Now we're starting to finally get going a little bit here on the market as our short is finally paying off one more time here. Thank you, TQQs. So again, you know, sometimes you got to put bids out there to get hit. That just went into 86 again right there. So this short starting to pay off. And again, we went a little short there. We averaged it in and got out. We're just making our money back, but I'm just happy that at least the way is to the right side right now, down as we go. And I have like 1% left of this Palantir, 2% left of this Palantir trade. So definitely not any sort of a pause for concern here for me on this particular trade, Palantir. So we're going to wait. I'm still waiting for 200 break. If we get a VWAP take, then that'll be fine. But if this market really wants to go, I think we're into something now. I don't want to take a falling knife. And people are asking today, how come you're able to control this on Tesla where you lost 5% of what you made on NVIDIA or 5% of what you made on Palantir and you lost it right there? It's because, you see, when this is happening and we write down on the sticky note 460, we take the 460, and then if it breaks, we're out of there because there's no levels below. You got to wait for those levels. So it's not like we're averaging into something here. We don't take a full position, and then when this falling knife happens, it could continue to go down, which reminds me of this Palantir, which is what I was going to say. Normally, I would take this 200 period moving average, but with only 14 minutes to go, I don't know what that Q&A is going to look like, and if Powell, I don't know, like I said, talks about being more patient, talks about, you know, maybe they're happy where the current Fed rate, where the current rates are. So the question I had for you, Adara, was there anything that you saw about those two dissents? Did they dissent because they didn't want to cut, or did they dissent because they wanted 50 points? That was the one thing that I was interested in.
Muran's got to be one of them for the 50.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that's what I was just about to talk about here, Sean. So I mentioned it briefly earlier, but I want to get more into this because I looked into it a bit more. This is actually very significant. So, Sean, we had for the first time since 2019, 2 dissenting votes in the opposite direction. And we have this fun infographic so I can actually show you how people voted. So, of course, here are 19 Fed members, 12 voted each meeting. So 10 out of the 12, including Fed Chair Jerome Powell, voted to hold rates steady. But then we had, to cut rates by 25 basis points. That's my bad. So 10 out of the 12 members here, the majority did vote for that cut. But then we have Stephen Myron, who for the second meeting in a row voted for a 50 basis point, so larger than the 25 basis point cut the rest of the Fed voted for. Now, this was not shocking. He's literally said in his comments that he wants 50 basis point rate cuts until they get the rate to a reasonable level. So this is not at all surprising. What was surprising was the other dissenting vote, which came from Fed Schmid over here at the Fed Reserve Bank of Kansas City. Now, he voted to hold rates steady. So again, majority here with the 25 basis point rate cut. Then we had one dissenting vote in favor of a larger cut, and then one dissenting vote in favor of no cut. Again, this is the first time that this has happened since 2019, which was also, interestingly enough, under the reign of Fed Chair Powell. Back to you.
Okay. Yeah, interesting to see that right there. So opposite ways.
Yeah.
So there you go. So it actually doesn't solve any of my problems here because now we still don't have a direct decision here. But the TQs does make that move down, and now it's right back up. So yeah, like happy kind of sitting on our hands now and waiting for something to happen. You know, Powell is the boss.
Yeah, and if you're in small cappers and you've got something happening, that CMBM, this might be worth watching. Sometimes look, if we end up not breaking out in either direction, we could go back to some of the normal things that move. And if this small capper wants to continue going, it's on 1/3 of a billion shares. It's currently halted, and the tap is 310. So it's indicating it's going to open, breaking out the highs. I'll have this maybe on the side burner. Ideally, I don't think this is what I want to look at on a Fed day, but because it is a bit of a squeeze play and there's lots of momentum, it could end up being a little bit of something. Google, I thought, would give us a better chance on that dip. Like this was the stock that I said to myself, if we get a real dip, that's the one I would buy the dip on. But with only 10 minutes till Powell came, that's the dip it made was 50 cents from the highs, and VWAP is $3 lower. So that does not qualify, in my opinion, as something that I would have taken a shot on. I didn't want to buy the top when the market was breaking down, and you're still effectively buying the top. But this is a relatively strong one. Red Sport, I like that question. Meta, red or green on earnings? I feel like usually we're not talking about earnings this early because like we'd be moving around a little bit more. But I think there's a difference between Meta 5 minutes after earnings come out and tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Because I feel like 5 minutes after earnings come out, the stock could be up, but that'll be very different when they decide to nitpick everything. I think that's really the only problem with Meta. Like the numbers are going to be fantastic in my opinion, but I can see it getting nitpicked, and then you're like, you come in the morning, you're like, what the heck? What? Why is this thing down? Everything was great. Like an IBM type of move. Maybe not as crazy as IBM, because IBM was stupid. I'm just going to throw that one out there. IBM earnings was like the dumbest.
Yeah, I was like, you weren't here, but I said the chart. I was like, what the hell? Like, what the hell? I was just like, oh,
yeah.
Down? That's nice. But very
and then 2 days later, it's breaking.
Well, the problem is they had that announcement with AMD.
Yeah.
That gave it some juice there back on some sort of a quantum AMD breakout or whatever. They just solved world hunger. But yeah, this is the move that we're talking about. So it was all the way down into there. That was real, down into 260. Then the very next day it was back to 285, or that same day, sorry, back to 285, and the very next day up to 310, sort of where we are right now, and that's IBM's sort of earnings in a nutshell there. And very similarly, although GEV is coming back down into these levels again, but GEV had a very, very similar sort of wick moment that actually printed down there to 530, and then the very next day or whatever, it went right back up to almost 630, 620 or so, and now it's actually down quite nicely. GEV actually about to break lower. So this is actually one where I want to buy this one, but I do not want to catch a falling knife. This is a buy in and around 500. So we'll watch out for
it. Is way
GEV. But you play those games, and that's sometimes what winds up happening, right? I mean, they are stocks where you're looking for big winners, and then you also sometimes have to take it on the chin just a little bit. But
it's the first pullback. Like it went 6x from the split, like when they split three ways, GE. So like it was a bit frothy. First real pullback. I think you got to work back into that one, which I'm going to. I'm definitely going to buy some dips there. David with his silly trade idea. Thank you, David, for the super chat. Always a silly trade idea for anyone tuning in for the first time. David, the regular viewer, usually he just says it's a silly idea. And some of them usually are actually usually like. Tesla, quantums, Qs lose ground, even Google may close lower. Okay, well, if the market ends up being weak, I don't think there's any surprise that the quantum names could take it on the chin. Alphabet, I'd be surprised if Alphabet gave it all up. But the quantums, that was a gorgeous trend break. I'm just going to use Rigetti here. Like, let's be real, they've already made a significant pullback. I feel like there's more room to a bounce on the daily than there is to the highs. And I'm speculating that you're holding like Rigetti here around 29 and the 50 period for a hot minute. But that does give you some room to fall. It's not like they've had really good days in here. And when you see patterns like this, it doesn't matter what we think about selling in Rigetti. It's happening. And it's happening at $42. Right? Like somebody is selling this stock at $42 and it's under 42, so you bet on continuation until it breaks that back out. That's how these shorts work. They kind of tip their hand because it's hard to, when you sit there for like the same price 4 days in a row and you're failing the same area, you have an idea of what the shorties are doing. You can't really hide it in that circumstance. So until you break that out, you got to hunt for a new bottom. So I'm kind of with you on that one, David. Alphabet, I don't know if I can get on board with that. I kind of think that's a strong one today.
Yeah, so we had a keystroke error right there, and we just put the wrong stop in, so we got punched out, and then by the time I had to regroup the trade, it was about 10 or 15 cents lower, so we're still short, but we had to punch shorter on that. So now we're starting to come in just a little bit right here. We can have a quick little look at the dollar as well, just to see what that is doing here, because it doesn't look like the market wants. Literally, the Nasdaq is down 0.1 right now. So if we go into a 1 minute chart here, okay, the dollar slightly ticking up right now, like 10 basis points, like just almost nothing there from 98.70 to 98.80. So not much happening again here in the market and with the dollar. So unfortunately, we can look at TLT, see if the treasuries, okay, so they're actually starting to head downside a little bit now. So that, you know, again, here's the 20-year going lower, makes sense. As rates go lower, so does the 20-year. So there it goes again. Just surprised that all this stuff isn't priced in already. You know, whoosh. So I guess next time, maybe we'll make this note for whatever, December 18th, whatever the next cut date is, that we can maybe short the TLT, because if we know it's going to be that kind of a movement on an expected rate, this is something that we could easily get on board with, and it's only 20 cents down. Part of that might be the descents as well, because, you know, adding to a little bit of uncertainty, so I could see something happening around there. I'm going to put another bid here, low 90. Am I already there? No, I'm low 80s. I'm going to put a bid like mid 90s, see if we can get at another 10% here. The future's not doing anything, but good news, guys. We are 4 minutes away from Q&A time, and that will hopefully spark a little bit of magic here, mystical, magical. What's up, Adara?
Yeah, just a reminder here, as Sean mentioned, we're about 4 minutes away now from the FOMC press conference with Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Now, how this works is they'll release the prepared statement on the Federal Reserve website. I'll read through that for you guys, and I'll let you know if there's anything specifically of note that is being said in that statement. Then as we get to the end of that statement during the press conference, I'll let you guys know that the Q&A is about to begin. Once the Q&A begins, I'll keep you guys posted, and keep an eye here at the bottom of the screen. If there's any headlines of note, I'll put them up there, but I'll also be interjecting throughout the conference to give you guys the goods as to what is happening here with Fed Chair Jerome Powell's press conference. Another interesting thing I want to mention is, perhaps not shockingly, there's actually Kalshi action on the Fed conference. So apparently there's a 72% chance people are thinking he's going to mention goods inflation, 67% chance people think that credit might be mentioned, AI, there's about 58% chance. I only bring this up to get a sense of what people are looking for him to say. We'll have to wait and see, of course, if any of those things are said. But either way, worth noting, people are literally betting on the commentary coming out of this conference, guys. Back to you.
Okay, well, yeah, you have Kalshi up right now. I have it up too. I still have it up.
Yeah, I want those look fun. I want to have some of those up.
Yeah, did you find anything yet?
I was able to. I have it up.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
we can show Kalshi. Yeah, the market's not doing anything too crazy. We can come back to it. So what will he say during the press conference? And then you have December. Obviously, Powell. I mean, come on. Obviously,
will he say credit or median?
Where do you see that?
Oh, I see both of them. Well, top left.
Oh, this one here, credit or median. Yeah.
A decision in November.
I just.
Wow.
AI or
AI. Okay, so what will he say? AI. That's only 59%. Oh, this is just in his speech, or
things in the speech.
Press conference. No.
Pandemic.
What do you mean? Where does it say in the speech?
It says, what will he say during the October press conference?
Of course he's going to say AI.
Yeah. Well, like, wait a minute.
Why is that only 59%?
That's 59. I'm not telling anybody. We're not telling anybody to go hop on Kalshi and take this. I don't even have an account. Right?
He's not going to say the word pardon?
Pardon?
Beige book, no. Volatility, yes. QB. Yes, for sure, volatility. That's why that's only 36.
Well, QT needs to be there because he's more likely to say that.
Go down. These are the ones that are consumer confidence. Gold. Yes, he's definitely going to say that.
Session.
Is he going to say? Someone's going to ask him about gold. I would bet yes on all of these, but I'm a gambler, so I mean I don't.
Tariff inflation is 25%. But does he have to say those exact words, or can he kind of say that?
No, exact words.
I mean, come on.
But you gotta pay 32
My whole thing is, if odds seem too good on something, usually you're a sucker. Like, let's be real. Kalshi's pretty good at this.
Maybe he doesn't normally. Normally.
That's the first time I've looked at that. That's just hella interesting. You can tell. It's always fun to look at stuff like that, but don't just.
That's
the
problem with names like DraftKings and all that, is because like they don't have stuff like that, and Kalshi and Polymarket do. And as you just heard me say, like, you know, I like the action, obviously. Hello, my name is Sean. I sit here. But you know, I think that's great. And like yesterday, you know, in the Jays game, I parlayed Ernie Clement hit, Addison Barger hit, Bichette hit. That's a plus 400 parlay right there, and it hit. So right there, we got 4-1, and we're just playing around yesterday. So we like that. Maybe the Jays do something again today. But I was feeling a big nice win yesterday, so we had that, man. We had that plus 400. That's a good one there. But
just quickly, this CMBM has opened twice and halted higher twice again. I have no idea why. I can't figure out, that's 15 cents. Why is it halting on a 15-cent move as a $3? Like it's barely even moving. Like, anyways, it doesn't really matter. From gap to gap, this will continue to go higher, but it's a halt fest. Despite being 375 million shares, it just continues to halt higher and higher. I'm going to reload IBIT as we get back a little bit to the top, but let's go over to the desk with Adara. How does
Chair Powell here. I'm going to take a moment to thank our friends. Sorry about that. As we wait, Chair Powell, we're going to take a moment to thank our friends at Origenics. Each year, 3.8 million concussions are reported in the U.S., but there's still no FDA-approved treatment. NYSE-listed Origenics OGEN is changing that with its first-in-class intranasal drug designed for rapid brain access, with the concussion treatment market projected to reach $8.9 billion by 2027. Origenics is uniquely positioned to lead the way. Learn more and schedule a meeting today. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, guys, also just stepped onto the podium with a purple tie. He's about to start his speech. Thank you to Origenics. Back to you.
Here we go. So we just take our one last little trade here on the futures, little small guy into this one. If we break that top again, then we're going to get out. So let's wait to see what winds up happening. No big positions here at all. I'd rather react to what Powell's going to say rather than like try to predict it. Like, even though we were just talking about the predicted markets, but I wouldn't put a.
That's a more fun way to predict it.
Yeah. Like I'm not. Okay, here we go. The data available suggests outlook for employment and inflation unchanged. You can read it on there, but this is what I'm worried about, is the fact that he's not going to be definitive here. So let's wait to see if there's word about patience into the numbers and things like that. I think that winds up tanking the market. Not tanking, but bringing the market down. If there's any uncertainty at all in his tone or what he's saying about the future of the rate cuts. So he's just saying inflation remains somewhat elevated right now. We sort of know that, but here we go again. So
But he didn't say goods inflation.
Yeah, did he say tariff inflation? We got to bet that, remember?
No, goods inflation was 79%.
Okay.
So like it was supposed to be a lock that he said that, and he has not yet. But remember, sometimes it's deeper into the Q&A, you never really know when he will hit on something, which is a bit of a bigger deal. So, we'll keep it up there.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, so you guys can see, but I'm still play inside the range. Yeah.
All right, he's just saying that the data before the shutdown showed a firm economy. I think that's good. So we'll wait to see if there's any sort of reaction to the market to that. It doesn't, honestly, guys. The Nasdaq. You can come over to my screen right here, Andre. The Nasdaq was 0.4 when right before 2 o'clock. So right now it's 0.3. So we're not getting really anything yet. The only thing we did was short and got about 20 pennies there on that first little trade back into 120.30. Right here. Labor demand has softened, he's saying, in our ear right now. So that could be a play.
That kind of helps future cuts a little bit.
Yeah.
That firms the December number, the December cut, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to have a super strong job market because then he won't react to that kind of a talk, right? So here we go. Obviously, there's something happening. Let's go over to Adara as the market is moving nothing.
Here we have commentary coming from Fed Chair Powell. He's saying that the available data suggests that the economy is expanding moderately, but that there is maybe some concerns here about labor demand. So nothing that is really super out of the ordinary. He did also say that the shutdown is going to be weighing on economic activity while it persists, but that the impact should reverse once it ends. Overall, much like a lot of Fed members, Fed Chair Powell does not seem particularly concerned about the shutdown and the resulting lack of economic data, saying that based on what they do have, things seem to be more or less in place. So interesting look here for Fed Chair Powell's speech. If we get anything else of note, I will keep you guys posted. Back to you.
2.8% as well. These readings are higher than earlier in the year as inflation for goods has picked up. In contrast, disinflation appears to be continuing for services. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have moved up on balance over the course of this year on news about tariffs, as reflected in both market and survey-based measures. Beyond the next year or two or so, however, most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. At today's meeting, the committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a 0.25 percentage point to 3 3/4 to 4%. Higher tariffs are pushing up prices in some categories of goods, resulting in higher overall inflation. A reasonable base case is that the effects on inflation will be relatively short-lived, a one-time shift in the price level. But it is also possible that the inflationary effects could instead be more persistent, and that is a risk to be assessed and managed. Our obligation is to ensure that a one-time increase in the price level does not become an ongoing inflation problem. In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside. A challenging situation. There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals. Our framework calls for us to take a balanced approach in promoting both sides of our dual mandate. With downside risks to employment having increased in recent months, the balance of risks has shifted.
There we go, balance of risks.
Yeah, balance of risks. At this meeting to take another step toward a more neutral policy.
He's also, by the way, the Fed odds have moved in December up to 90%. So it has gone from 84% for a cut in December to 90% for December. So that is moving higher, and that should, I mean, obviously that's a little bit of the spike in the market.
There it is. Something's happening now.
Oh, now
the market's cranking.
Cranking down.
Lower, yeah. Go, we just got a great fill.
Whoa.
Whoa, I can't hear anything. I don't hear Powell at all. But the market is tanking. We are short the market. We are absolutely huge right now on this market. What's up, Adara?
Yes, what we have here is that there's no risk-free path right now because we have inflation risks to the upside and employment risks to the downside. The Fed, though, has to take a balanced approach as the balance of risk is shifted. He says they remain well-positioned, but he also said that the reasonable base case here is tariffs effects will be short-lived here with regards to inflation. Their obligation is to ensure it doesn't become an ongoing problem. Obviously, though, the biggest thing he said here was that there's no risk-free path for policy. Back to you.
I'll take it.
And Andre, and Andre, and bang! Right there as we go, man. Neil, we're short, baby. And there it goes. As soon as I heard it, man, I said to Neil, there it is. Even Neil said it. And boom, we're short right now. So now we are monstrous here. This is $1.50 in the money on the futures. So there it is, man. We take small cuts. We get what we want, man. We're sitting on these desks for reasons, and I hope you guys are trading this as well. Nice downside play right there. That's how you trade the futures. That's how you trade Powell. There it goes, man. Boom goes the dynamite. Thank you, Jerome, for that. But not happy with the market. But finally, wow, Neil. Now we are going, baby. It's $2, Neil. Let's go to the downside a little bit more, but let's hear from Adara.
Yeah, we also have Powell here saying that the December rate cut is not certain, far from it. So again, Powell saying not only is there no risk-free path, but that it's actually not even certain, or apparently it's far from certain that we'll get a December rate cut. Back to you.
Yeah, I was able to get out at the bottom there, it looks like on IBIT. I'm going to try and short the pop back in. I'm sure it takes a while for that page to update, but my guess is that it spiked to 90%. That's going to be heading right back down on those comments, almost certainly. My first thought is going to be look at the prior low and short back into the prior low because we're not going to give people. The second we heard that, I went to go try to grab more on the way back down, and I couldn't cancel bid, but who cares? We're going to continue to short the pops. Is not good for the odds of a rate cut, which my guesses are going down. In my personal opinion, I still think there's a December cut, but it doesn't really matter. The market's taking the other direction, and we'll have to reassess. And remember, we have earnings after market tonight. Ooh, that CapEx spend. If you don't get that, bye-bye.
Communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
All right, so we'll just wait to hear what those questions are. But we already, I mean, this is already quite the move, and we nailed it basically to the wall right there. We knew exactly what we were waiting for. We talked about it, we executed on it, and there go the futures to the downside, and your boy is short. So remember, our stop was like 20 pennies, so now we're in the money $22 right there. So it's working out now. But let's go back over to Adara.
Yeah, we had Powell once again saying that the December cut is not assured when asked during the first question in the Q&A, which just started. How do you feel when people assume that these rate cuts are a conclusion? He said, well, I just said it, December rate cuts are certainly not a foregone conclusion, and people need to keep that in mind. So, again, it's been pretty hawkish over here with Fed Chair Powell, guys. Back to you.
Just say that.
You and some of your colleagues have framed last month and maybe today, I won't put words in your mouth, there's a risk management exercise. At what point do you conclude that you've taken out enough insurance? Are you looking for some kind of improvement in the outlook? Or could this unfold along the lines of last year, where you made a sequence of adjustments and then waited to gather more information?
So the way I've been thinking about it is the risks to the two goals. For a very long time, the risk was clearly of higher inflation. And then that has changed now. And as we saw particularly after the July meeting, we saw the downward revisions in job creation, we saw a very different picture of the labor market, and it suggested that there were higher downside risks to the labor market than we had thought. And that suggested that policy, which we had been holding at a I would say modestly, others people would say moderately restrictive level, needed to move more in the direction over time of neutral. If the two goals are sort of equally at risk, then you ought to be at neutral, because one of them.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say here, again, Powell's saying, as you guys can hear, that when the two goals are at risk, it's better to be a little bit neutral. So of course, that's what's happening here with regards to the Fed right now. They have a situation where we have a little bit of concerns here with inflation being too high, but then also concerns about unemployment. So it seems like they're kind of aiming to be neutral right now, or at least Fed Chair Powell is. I think that's certainly worth noting. It looks like we're going to continue to see these conflicting goals going forward for at least the next little while for the Fed here. Back to you.
Heard from you that the discussion in December and the conclusion of the discussion is not a foregone conclusion. I'd like to just dig into that a little bit more about what sort of arguments were brought up. Was there any consideration, for instance, of the investment we're seeing in AI and some of the generation of household wealth through rises in stock prices related to the AI boom? Thank you.
You know, I wouldn't say that's a factor in everyone's assessment of the economy. I wouldn't say it's the driving factor. I don't think for anybody. You know, I guess I would say it this way. Once again, I would just point out that we have the situation where the risks are to the upside for inflation and to the downside for employment. We have one tool. It can't do both of those. You can't address both of those at once. You've got a very different situation. So you have some people have different forecasts, right? So they'll forecast faster or slower progress on one or the other, and they also have different levels of risk aversion. And you know, some will be more averse to inflation overruns, and some will be more averse to underruns of employment. And so you put that together, and as you can see from the SEP and from the public discussion that goes on between the meetings when participants go out and talk, they're very disparate views, and they were reflected in strongly differing views in today's meeting, as I pointed out in my remarks. And that's what leads me to say that, you know, that we haven't made a decision about December. You know, I always say that. It's a fact that we don't make decisions in advance. But I'm saying something in addition here, is that it's not to be seen as a foregone conclusion. In fact, far from it.
Can I just ask a quick follow-up on QT? How much of the fund impressions we've seen in money markets are related to the U.S. Treasury issuing more short-term debt?
You know, that could be one of the factors, but the reality is we've seen, you know, the things that we've seen, higher repo rates and federal funds rate moving up. These are the very things that we look for. We actually have a framework for looking at, you know, the place we're trying to reach. What we said for a long time now is that when we feel like we're a bit above what we consider a level that's ample, that we would freeze the size of the balance sheet. Of course, reserves will continue to decline from that point forward as non-reserve liabilities grow. So this happened, some things have been happening for some time now, showing a gradual tightening in money market conditions. Really in the last, call it 3 weeks or so, you've seen more significant tightening, and I think a clear assessment that we're at that place. The other thing is, you know, the balance sheet is shrinking at a very, very slow pace now. We've reduced it by half twice, and so there's not a lot of benefit to be holding on to get the last few dollars, because, you know, again, with the balance sheets, the reserves are going to continue to shrink as non-reserves grow. So, you know, there was support on the committee as we thought about it to go ahead with this and announce effective December 1 that we will be, freezing the size of the balance sheet. And the December 1 date gives the markets a little bit of time to adapt.
Colby. Thank you, Colby Smith with the New York Times. So much of the rationale for cutting interest rates, even as inflation moves away from the 2% target, seems to be, that there are these mounting downside risks to the labor market. But if those don't materialize and the labor market either stabilizes around current employment levels or even starts to strengthen somewhat, how would that change your perception of how much interest rates need to fall from here? Would you then be a bit more concerned about underlying inflation and the possibility of second-round effects from tariffs?
Yeah, I mean, in principle, if you were to see data that suggested that the labor market's strengthening or even that it's stabilizing, that would certainly play into our decisions going forward. So, we do have, we get some data. The labor market is a place where we get, for example, we get the state-level data on initial claims, which are sending a sort of a signal of more of the same. We also get job openings, and we'll get lots of survey data. We'll get the beige book and things like that. So we'll have a picture of what's going on in the labor market, and the fact that we're not seeing an uptick in claims or a downtick really in openings suggests that you're seeing maybe continued very gradual cooling, but nothing more than that. So that does give you some comfort.
But if this shutdown lasts a while longer and you don't have that data in hand, I'm just wondering how that hinders the committee's ability to assess the state of the labor market and make the right policy decisions, and also how much is that factoring into the debate about December?
Yeah. So we get like I mentioned what we get in the labor area. We get some data in inflation, some data in economic activity. And we'll have a picture of what's going on. We also will have the beige book again. I would say we're not going to be able to have the detailed feel of things. But I think if there were a significant or material change in the economy one way or another, I think we'd pick that up through this. So in terms of how it might affect December, it's really hard to say. December's the meeting's I guess 6 weeks away. We just don't know what we're going to get. If there is a very high level of uncertainty, then that could be an argument in favor of caution about moving, but we'll have to see how it unfolds.
Steve.
Steve Leisman, CNBC. Mr. Chairman, can you characterize the meeting in terms of, you said strongly differing views. Was this a close call, this cut, or was it a close call maybe the other way because you had dissents on both sides? Thanks.
So I was referring to the discussion about, to the extent it related to December. You saw we had two dissents, one for 50 and one for no cut. So, that was a strong, solid vote in favor of this cut. The strongly differing views were really about the future. What does that look like? And I think people are saying, they're noticing stronger economic activity. Forecasters generally, broadly, have raised their economic growth forecasts for this year and next year, in some cases quite materially. In the meantime, we see, a labor market that's kind of, I don't want to say stable, but it's not clearly in motion. It's not clearly declining quickly in any case. It may be just continuing to gradually cool. And again, people have different forecasts and expectations about the economy and different risk tolerances, and so there's you read the SEP, you read the speeches,
This part of the show is brought to you by our friends at Beta Pro by Global X Canada. Some exciting news out of Canada for the sophisticated traders on the stream. Beta Pro by Global X Canada, Canada's largest provider of leveraged inverse and inverse leveraged ETFs, has just launched 6 new triple leveraged ETFs, offering 3x bull and 3x bear exposure to the S&P TSX 60 semiconductors and on U.S. Treasuries. Even better, they're offering a special fee rebate, dropping management fees to just 65 basis points until December 31st, 2025. Plus, the U.S.-focused strategies use currency hedging, offering the potential for pure performance and exposure. So if you are a tactical, sophisticated trader looking to amplify your performance, check out betapro.ca/3x daily to learn more. Back to you.
To be ample. So that'll happen for a time, but not a tremendously long time. We don't know exactly how long. But at a certain point, you'll want to start reserves to start gradually growing to keep up with, the size of the banking system and the size of the economy. So we'll be adding reserves at a certain point, and that's the last point. Even then, we didn't make decisions about this today, but we did talk today about the composition of the balance sheet, and there's a desire that the balance sheet be right now it's got a lot more duration than the outstanding universe of Treasury securities, and we want to move to a place where we're closer to that duration. That'll take some time. We haven't made a decision about the ultimate endpoint, but we all agree that we want to move more in the direction of a balance sheet that more closely reflects the outstanding Treasuries, and that means a shorter duration balance sheet. Now, this is something that's going to take a long time and move very, very gradually. I don't think you'll notice it in market conditions, but that's the direction of things.
Janelle.
Janelle Marte with Bloomberg. How are officials interpreting the latest CPI report? So some components came in lower than expected, but core inflation was still at 3%. So at this moment, what are you learning about the drivers? And also, do you view that the risks are greater that the Fed makes a mistake on employment or inflation?
So the September CPI report, we didn't get PPI after that, which is important for translation into what we look at, which is PCE inflation, but we can still make a pretty good assessment of what that will be. When we get PPI, there might be some adjustments, but so directionally, it was a little softer than expected, and we always break it down into the three components. So basically, you've seen goods prices increasing, and that's really due to tariffs. And that's compared to a longer run trend of very, very mild deflation in goods. So that's moving inflation up. On the other side of that, good news that housing services inflation has been coming down and is expected to continue to come down. So if you remember a couple of years ago, that's the one that we kept expecting it to do that. Now it's been doing that for some time, and we expect to continue that. That leaves the biggest category is services other than housing services. And that's kind of been moving sideways over the last few months, but a significant part of that is non-market services, and we don't take a lot of signal about the tightness of the economy from that. So if you add all that up, a couple things to say. One is that inflation away from tariffs is actually not so far from our 2% goal. We estimate, people have different estimates of what that is, but it might be, 5 or 6 tenths, and so that if it's 2.8, then core PCE, not including tariffs, might be 2.3 or 2.4 in that range, something like that. So that's not so far from your goal. So that we look at that, and the thing about tariff inflation is the base case is that it will come, and it probably will increase further. But it is that it will be a one-time increase. And, we've been very focused for all of this year at making sure that that's the case and thinking carefully about what are the pathways through which it could become something else, troublesome inflation. One of those would be, a really tight labor market. We don't see that. Another could be inflation expectations moving. We don't see that. So I think, we're watching this very carefully. I think it's not the case that we're just assuming that it's going to be a one-time inflation. We understand fully that this is a risk we have to monitor and ultimately manage.
With the stubborn in services inflation, what are some of the things that the Fed could do to address that, and especially when we're seeing potentially labor supply challenges?
Sorry, short the market right now again. We just reshorted the market.
Again, the part of services inflation that isn't coming down as we would like it to is the non-market part of non-housing services. And overall, that's just something that we expect will come down. The non-market part of it should come down. It largely reflects higher stock prices and financial services that are imputed rather than actually paid is a big part of that. But also just, we think policy is still modestly restrictive in my telling. So that's the kind of thing that should lead to a gradually cooling economy. That's one of the reasons you see a gradually cooling labor market is because, Fed policy is modestly restrictive. So that should also help get that. I want to say, though, we're absolutely committed to returning inflation to 2%. If you look at longer-term surveys or market pricing, you will see that that's a credible commitment, and there should be no question that that's where we're going.
Chris.
Great, thank you. Chris Rugaber at Associated Press. So there's a big investment boom in AI infrastructure right now, as you know, and wondering if the existence of such a boom would indicate that rates are not that restrictive after all, and could further rate cuts at this point perhaps fuel an excess level of investment there or market bubbles? How is the Fed thinking about that?
So I don't think that you're right. There are a lot of data centers being built and other investments being made around the country and around the world. Big U.S. companies are just investing a lot of resources in thinking about how AI, which will be based on those data centers, run through those data centers, is going to affect their businesses. So it's a big deal. I don't think that the spending that happens to build data centers all over the country is especially interest sensitive. It's based on longer run assessments that this is an area where there's going to be a lot of investment and that's going to drive higher productivity and that sorts of things. I don't know how those investments will work out, but I don't think they're particularly interest sensitive compared to some of the other sectors.
And then just a quick follow-up. Could you mentioned that you do have data that you're looking at for inflation and growth in the absence of government data. Could you give us a sense? I think we know a lot about the jobs data that's out there. Can you give us a sense of what you're looking at to track inflation in the absence of government data? Thank you.
So it's a lot of things, and it doesn't replace government data, but you know all of these. I'll just mention some of the many names: Price Stats, Adobe, and others. For wage inflation, there's ADP data. On spending, you're going to ask about spending at some point. There are lots of other things that we look at, but it's many different sources, and again, including what we get out of the beige book, which will be sort of come out mid-cycle as always. And it doesn't replace the government data, but it gives us a picture. Again, I think if something material were happening, if there were material developments, I think we would pick that up. I don't think we'll be able to have the very granular understanding of the economy while this data is not available.
Howard.
Short here if you're watching.
Howard Schneider with Reuters. Thank you. I just wanted you to elaborate a little bit on what you said a moment ago about the continued shutdown, making it more difficult to make a move in December, and that may make you more cautious. To the degree you are relying on private data that isn't the gold standard, or that you're relying on your own surveys or the beige book, do you worry at some point you're going to have to start making policy by anecdote?
This is a temporary state of affairs, and we're going to do our jobs. We're going to collect every scrap of data we can find, evaluate it, and think carefully about it. And that's our jobs. That's what we're going to do. If you ask me, could it affect the December meeting? I'm not saying it's going to, but yeah, you could imagine that what do you do if you're driving in the fog? You slow down. So that could or could not. I don't know how that's going to play into things. We may get the data may come back, but there's a possibility.
On IBIT, I'm short TQs. If you can hear this, I don't know.
I'm not committing to. It's certainly a possibility that you would
call
say.
up IBIT.
We really can't see, so let's slow down.
As a follow-up in the debate on this,
TQs, Neil Long IBIT right now, just so you guys are following. Oh, sorry, short IBIT. Sorry, my bad. I called it up. We're short everything right now, it looks like. The market seems to be wanting to go lower. We'll let them keep talking, but I'm short again.
Yeah, there was an Amazon headline, some more layoffs, I believe, for Amazon, but that's a nothing burger. I still feel like earnings are going to be a bigger deal here, but stay with the net short. We came right back, almost a VWAP on the Q. Qs, and then the prior support on IBIT. So we went back into the short side of the trade.
So those are
If he says slow down because of driving in fog, that's not an analogy you want to hear.
Very, very carefully.
No, exactly. Anything about this thing slowing down. He did have some nice talk about AI there, though.
But significant
3-1
companies either announcing that they are not going to be doing much higher.
NVIDIA not doing anything on this news. AMD, I like the AMD break of 263, didn't happen.
About AI and what it can do.
Try to hold this short.
We're watching that.
Google was relatively strong. For anyone that's looking for strength, Alphabet
could absolutely
pretty much right back at the highs.
For job creation.
So that's at least something strong. I don't I'm preferring the short, so I'm staying away from it. But you could certainly work over that. Maybe you could buy dips there. Again, I'm not doing that though.
It takes some time for it to.
Here we go. We're at day's high for ourselves here, but
again, don't see it yet in the.
Just let him keep talking. He's almost over.
On the K-shaped economy thing,
it's only 3
I
o'clock.
would say the same thing, or similar thing. We are, if you listen to the earnings calls or the reports of, big public consumer-facing companies, many of them are saying that there's a bifurcated economy there, and that consumers at the lower end are struggling and buying less and shifting to lower-cost products. But that at the top,
Bitcoin bouncing around,
higher income and wealth, and they're
I was just going to stop out here at VWAP.
So. I'm not reloading again. If we break the top while he's talking,
so we think there's something.
Bump
there.
that.
Come back in. Another 20 cents here on the Qs, but there it goes upside again. I feel like we want to get away from this short now. The market's not coming back in. I don't. We don't have too much left of this, so we're just going to wait for it to break 120 here. But we made good bank. We lost on one of those shorts right there on the 50-period moving average, right here. But then we got back into the short, and this is kind of nothing happening here. This was a much bigger short when he basically took the podium at 230. And then we got a little bit of questions there. We'll discuss what sent this down. Adair's making notes and everything as well. So we'll talk about all of this. But okay, here it comes back in a little bit now again. I'm going to try to hold so that at least I have something on when he leaves the podium. But for right now, it's all good. I know your short IBIT looks like that's actually not doing much, but you still got the short, which is nice. So we'll wait, but here it comes. I do have a bid at 119. So if we break below 119, we'll get that fill, and then we'll regroup it from there. So 119.02 is where I'm currently bidding, and then we'll see if we can get something. That's the 21 period, so we'll see if we can get that. And then after that, man, maybe 118 middles, but just back and forth. Like right there, we could have just got, I mean, talk about it. Like we could have just got, honestly, like 75 cents there. We didn't take it. Maybe let's put a bid there, 119.20. Here it comes.
Yeah, I mean, the charts are basically the same thing. Like, I'm shorting to 60, 63, 17, 18 or so, which one of the two I put to stop, and we're holding at 80 to 90s right now. So, like, it's like this consolidation lowers. I think we're going to make another leg to the downside. But I also saw some breakouts there for, well, almost breakouts. CoreWeave caught a pretty big strong bid there in addition to Alphabet. Don't really know specifically if there was a story or just catching a bid with the rest of the market, but relatively strong. I'm still staying short on IBIT. And let's go to Adair.
Yeah, Powell making it pretty clear here that there was a lot of hawkishness on that Fed committee saying, quote, some people on the committee feel it's time to take a step back, meaning that people are, maybe considering pausing rate cuts here and waiting to see what the data gives. And once again, he's talking about weighing up the importance of inflation increasing versus unemployment being a problem as well. So again, it does seem like a balance. He also still emphasized, though, as evidenced by Fed's Myron's vote, that there are still people who are quite dovish as well, but that there are, it sounds like more than one Fed member a little bit concerned about where things progress from here, guys. Back to you.
Some of that is different forecasts, but a lot of it is also
right there at 119. So we got that exact fill that we wanted to, giving us basically, here, even we'll just do this right in front of Powell. How about that, Powell? Right now, $1 club on that one, but all right, you can go back to him, or I don't know if the audio cuts out there when we do that.
Speeches you've been listening to from my colleagues. And so we're at a place now where we have, in fact, cut 2 more times. And, we're 150 basis points closer to neutral, wherever that may be, than we were a year ago. And so there's a growing chorus now of feeling like maybe this is where we should at least wait a cycle, something like that. That's what it is. It's just what you think it would be. It's and again, you've seen it in the September Summer of Economic Projections. You've seen this in the public remarks of FOMC participants, and now I'm telling you that's what you can expect that in the minutes. And I'm just telling you that's what happened in the meeting.
Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. Liz Scholze with ABC News. What is your explanation for why the job market is weakening right now, and what will this rate cut do to improve the job market?
So I think there are two things affecting the job market. One of them is just a dramatic reduction in the supply of workers. And that's two things. That's declining labor force participation, which is a cyclical thing, and then there's declining immigration, which is just a big policy change that actually began in the last accelerated now. A big part of the whole story is that supply side story. Okay. In addition, labor demand has declined, and so the unemployment rate has gone down, meaning that demand for workers has gone down a little more than supply. So that's what's going on, but it is mostly a supply function. It's mostly a function of the change in supply, I think, and many people think. So the question then is, what does the our tool do, which supports demand? And and I would just say, when you're in a situation where job creation, if you adjust for likely overcounting in the way that BLS does its work, is pretty close to zero. So maximum employment doesn't, on a sustainable basis, if you're creating zero jobs, if it's in equilibrium, if it's in balance, it's a pretty, as I said before, a pretty curious balance. So, I thought, and many of my colleagues thought, in fact, you've seen the last two meetings, that it was appropriate for us to react by supporting demand with our rates. And we've done that. We've reduced so that rates are looser. I wouldn't say that they're accommodative right now, but they're meaningfully less tight than they were. And that should help so that at least the labor market doesn't get worse. Though it's a complicated situation, and some people argue that this is supply and we really can't affect it much with our tools. But others argue, as I do, that there is an effect from demand and that we should use our tools to support the labor market when we see this happening.
You also talked about tariffs causing a one-time price increase. Should American household consumers expect that inflation will continue to go up this year because of those tariffs?
So the basic expectation is that there will be some additional increase in inflation because it takes a while for tariffs to work their way through the production chain and finally get to consumers. And we see this now from the tariffs that were put in place now many months ago. We see those effects, but if you put tariffs in effect, and they've been coming into effect consistently in February, March, April, May, and that's all happening. So that'll continue to happen for some time, probably into the spring. These are not big increases, though. These are a tenth or so on inflation. They may be big increases on a particular product that's been tariffed, but overall, these are fairly modest. I think some projections go, we're at 2.8% inflation.
Isn't it weird,
we might
like
get
some of the
2 or 3
frothy
more
stuff
tenths
is
or 4 more
pumping
tenths
the most
maybe.
right now?
But then, as all of the tariffs are in,
I don't know.
they stop generating inflation. You've had a one-time price increase. As long as you're not, at least this is the theory. This is how we believe and hope that it will work out. Once the last tariff is put on something, at that point, it becomes a higher price level, but it stops going up, if you will. Prices stop going up. They'll just be at that level, and then measured inflation will come back down to non-tariff inflation. As I mentioned, non-tariff inflation is not so far from 2% now. Now, consumers are not interested in that story. Their prices are higher. More than that, the reason they're so unhappy about inflation is the inflation that we had in 2021, 2, and 3. Because you can say that prices aren't going up as much, but that doesn't mean people aren't feeling those higher prices from the inflation we had 2 or 3 years ago. They are, and that's, I think, a large part of why the public.
Here we go.
Inflation is still very much making people quite unhappy. Even and it's nice that that prices are not going up as fast as they were, but they're still much higher than they were, and it'll take some time for that effect to wear off. As real incomes rise, it will feel better over time, but that's going to take time.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg
today's highs
Radio.
again.
Do you have any concerns that equity markets are
Apple the other way around.
close to being overvalued at this point?
Like, where's the logic in that?
We don't look at any one asset price and say, hey, that's wrong. You know, it's not our job to do that. We look at the overall financial system, and we ask whether it's stable, whether it could withstand shocks, right? So, you know, banks are well capitalized, while some households are clearly under stress. In the aggregate, you know, households are in good shape financially, relatively manageable levels of debt. At the lower income spectrum, you are seeing rising defaults, particularly around subprime auto, but nonetheless, in the aggregate, pretty good. You don't see too much leverage in the banking system or the financial system. It's a mixed picture, but it's not an overly troubling picture. And again, I'm not. It's not appropriate. You know, we don't set asset prices. Markets do that.
Well, you must be well aware that by lowering interest rates, you're contributing to additional asset price increases. And I wonder how you balance the idea that lowering rates would help the labor market with the reality that it seems more likely to be stimulating increased investment in AI, which is the rationale
another bid down in the
for job cuts that have been announced in the last few weeks.
Yeah, I don't think interest rates are an important part of the AI of the data center story. I think, you know, people think they're great economics in building these data centers, and they're making a lot of money building them, and they think they have very high present value and all that sort of thing. It's not really about. It's not you know, about 25 basis points here or there. You know, we use our tools to support the labor market and to create price stability. That's what we do. That's our two jobs, right? So we're here to, by lowering rates at the margin, that will support demand, and that will support more hiring. And that's why we do it. Now, no 25 basis point or even 50 basis point hike is going to be a dispositive thing, but ultimately...
Here for OKLO, I'm not seeing any news on this pop. A lot of talk on social media over the last couple of minutes. Seems like it could be options related as far as people are speculating, but either way, OKLO, great push to the upside, heading into the $150 level as the market oscillates. On comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Back to you.
You know, because there's uncertainty around inflation and the path ahead for inflation, that's why we're going. That's why the pace we're going has been a careful one.
Victoria. Hi, Victoria Guida from Politico. On AI, I'm just wondering, you know, it seems like a lot of the economic growth that we've been seeing is fed by investments in AI. So how worried are you about what a sudden contraction in tech investment would mean for the overall economy? Is there enough strength in other sectors? And specifically, are there any lessons that you take from the 1990s in how you might approach what's happening right now?
Yeah, this is different. In the sense that these companies, the companies that are so highly valued, actually have earnings and stuff like that. So if you go back to the 90s,
I wanted that trade, and
these were ideas rather than companies.
Wasn't even looking.
And, you know, so there's a clear bubble there. Whereas I won't go into particular names, but they actually have earnings, and you know, it looks like they have business models and profits and that kind of thing. So it's really a different thing. You know, the investment we're getting in equipment and all those things that go into creating data centers and feeding the AI, it's clearly one of the big sources of growth in the economy. Consumer spending also, though, has been, you know, is much bigger than that and has been growing and has defied a lot of, you know, negative forecasts, continuing to do so this year. Consumers are still spending. Now it may be mostly higher end consumers.
Somebody just smashed a bit on Oklo heavy.
But the consumer is spending, and that's a big chunk of what's going on in the economy, substantially bigger than AI. You could point to growth. I mean, actually, you may be growth as opposed to level, but consumer spending is a much bigger part.
I'm going to hold off.
And why do you think that the labor market is slowing so much, even though consumer spending is strong?
Why has it slowed so much? Well, what's happened is that the supply of workers has dropped very, very sharply due to mainly immigration, but also lower labor force participation. So, and that means there's less need for new jobs because there isn't this flow.
Keep an eye here on BBAI. We know Sean likes this one. Apparently being purchased by a representative of the U.S. by the name of Lisa McClain. So this representative here, member of government here, buying Big Bear AI. It looks like buyers here involved in BBAI. Notable that the volume isn't super significant, but nice pop here for Big Bear as we send you back to Sean and Neil and Feds Powell.
Some softening. You know, the economy's growing at a slower rate than it was, 2.4% last year. We think around 1.6% this year. It could have been a couple of tenths higher if not for the shutdown. And of course that will reverse. But you know, you still got the economy growing at a moderate pace.
Andrew.
Still looking to cover some PQs, 30s.
The Washington Post. I wanted to ask you to elaborate on how you think about policy in the context of the data drought. Does it make you inclined to stick with your plans as set out in September in the absence of the data that might change your mind, or does it make you inclined to proceed with added caution because of uncertainty?
Yeah, well, we'll know when we face that question, if we face that question. You know, it'll probably be argued both ways, right? But I've said a couple times here that, you know, if you really aren't getting
go long, VBAI breaks that.
And the economy looks like it's solid and stable and hasn't really changed, you know, there will be an argument. I don't know how persuasive it will be, but there will be an argument.
Bring it. Bidding 30s.
You know, you slow down.
Give it to me.
All right. When you can't see.
Sounds too bullish. I'm going to bid out a little bit more here. Cancel my 30s.
Others may argue.
Got some more out 50s
I'm not
there,
sure
everybody.
But you're perfectly right that you could also argue, well, things haven't.
I guess you got out of your IBIT.
You might not know that.
Oh, a while ago.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I was not back
trying to see what
SMCI is a little bit
by
better
the time
price
of the
action.
December meeting, we're getting, you know,
I briefly considered shorting Ocolo, but that's.
But if we're going to have to do our jobs one way or the other.
I also just wanted to ask a FinReg question. I think several years ago you said the overall amount of capital in the system was about right. As the Fed moves forward with a revised Basel proposal, potentially changes to the GSIB surcharge, has that changed at all? Or are you planning to significantly reduce the amount of capital in the system? Thanks.
So there are discussions going on, I think, among the agencies. And I don't want to get ahead of those discussions. I continue to think that the level of capital, when I said that in 2020, was about right. And of course, there's been much capital added since then through various mechanisms. But you know, I look forward to I know those discussions are really just getting going. They haven't come to the point where they're, you know, where they're got a whole plan and that kind of thing. So I really don't have much to say on that.
Brian.
Hi, Chairman Powell. Brian Chung with NBC News. Is the weakness in the jobs market accelerating, and who's at risk if the interest rate cuts are not the effective medicine for a further slowdown in the labor market?
So we do not see the weakness, as you put it, the weakness in the job market accelerating. I would say, then again, we didn't get the September employment report, payroll report, but we look at, you know, the unemployment insurance claims, initial claims, are reported at the state level, and we still get those, and we can accumulate them and get the national number. And there's really, I mean, no story. You can look at the numbers. Same thing with the job openings we get from Indeed. There's just no story over the last 4 weeks. It's kind of stable. So you don't see anything that says that the job market is, or really any part of the economy is making a significant deterioration. Don't see that. You see more things.
You got to look to Indeed, man.
Which is that, you know, you see big companies making announcements of either of layoffs or of the idea that they won't need to hire. Their number of employees is not expected to go up over a number of years. There may be different people working there. They say that too, but they don't need a bigger head count. So you see those kinds of things. You don't see it in the aggregate numbers. The layoff numbers have not gone up, but job creation is very low, and the job finding rate for people who are unemployed is very low. But the unemployment rate is very low as well. 4.3% is a low unemployment rate.
So as you make these cuts, is it the lower income
another bid at 119
flat? Those who might have their jobs automated? Is there a particular
almost got
that
it.
you're particularly?
So we can't. Our tools don't allow us to target any demographic or any income level, that kind of thing. I do think that people, you know, we saw this during the global financial crisis and the long recovery. If you have a long period,
that's why I get for sitting at 119.01.
it benefits people at the lower end the most. The last 2 or 3 years of that long expansion, people at the lower part of the income spectrum were
He
getting
might
the
bounce
biggest
things when he's
benefits.
done. He's almost done.
And, lots of things were happening in,
think it might
in
rally
that
after he steps
space demographically, which were very constructive. And, we're not at that place right now. But so, yeah, a stronger labor market is the best thing we can do for the public. It's also part of our job. It is half of our job, but it is absolutely the best thing we can do for people. Along with keeping prices stable. Those two things. Inflation also hurts people on fixed incomes more than other people.
Courtney.
Hi, Chair Powell. Courtney Brown from Axios. As you know, the 12 Reserve Bank presidents' terms are up for renewal at the end of February. I'm wondering if you can give us a timeline for when the board will consider those reappointments and whether we can expect everyone to be re-upped or if we can expect some changes.
So it's a process that we go through under the law. The way the law works is we have a reappointment process every 5 years for all of the reserve, each of them and all of them. We're in the middle of that process, and we're going to complete it in a timely way. And that's really all I can say.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel.
Daniel Davis, Agence France Presse. You've now had dissents in 3 consecutive FOMC meetings, but in this meeting you had dissents going in both directions, and you've just mentioned there's strong disagreement over the future path of rate cuts. Have these disagreements complicated your role presiding over the FOMC meetings, and if so, how?
I wouldn't say that, no. I think you have to take what comes, and what comes right now is pretty challenging situation where we have, first of all, we have 4.3% unemployment. We have an economy that's growing close to 2%. So, overall, it's a good picture. It's a good picture. But in terms of our policy, we have upside risks to inflation, downside risks to employment, and this is a very difficult thing for a central bank because, one of those calls for rates to be lower, one calls for rates to be higher. We can't do both, so we have to balance the two. And so it's a challenging thing, and as we have worked our way through this process, you would expect that there would be a range of views across the committee on what to do and the speed with which we should do it. And that's what we have. That makes a lot of sense to me. All of these people are, people who take their jobs very seriously, work very hard at this, and just want to do what's right for the American people, but they have different views on what that is. And, it's an honor to work among people who care that much. It is, but I don't feel that it's unfair or anything like that. It's a time when we're making quite difficult judgments in real time, and I believe we'll get through this. And I think we've done sort of the right thing so far this year. I think it was appropriate for us to be careful about this. I think it would not be appropriate to just ignore or assume away the inflation issue. At the same time, I think the risk of higher, more persistent inflation has declined significantly since April. And if we do wind up resuming rate cuts at some point, we will at some point. I think we're trying to get to the end of this cycle with the labor market in a good place and with inflation, on its way to 2% or at 2%. So that's all we're trying to do, and we're doing it under, quite challenging circumstances and doing the best we can.
We'll go to Jennifer for the last question.
Thank you so much, Chair Powell. Jennifer Schonberger with Yahoo Finance. Both regional and large banks have taken losses on loans given delinquencies on subprime auto loans. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon warned, when you see one cockroach, there may be more likely. I'm curious how the Fed is looking at these loan losses and if it poses risks to the financial system or the outlook for the economy. Is it a warning sign?
So, we're obviously we watch these things very carefully, credit conditions very carefully. You're right. You've seen rising defaults in subprime credit for some time now, and now you've seen a number of subprime credit, automobile credit institutions having significant losses, and some of those losses are now showing up on the books of banks. We're looking at it carefully. We're paying close attention. I don't see at this point a broader credit issue. It doesn't seem to be something that has very broad application across financial institutions. But you know, we're going to be monitoring this quite carefully and making sure that that is the case.
And then separately, many, you yourself have said that we're in a bifurcated economy right now with high net worth individuals continuing to spend with the lower income pulling back. How much of consumer spending continuing hinges on the stock market remaining strong? In some odd way, does the market help keep the economy buoyant?
So there's some relationship there, but remember, the more wealth someone has, the lower an additional dollar of wealth matters. So your marginal propensity to consume declines quite dramatically as you reach levels of stock market wealth. So, you know, the stock market, it would affect spending if the stock market went down, but it wouldn't drop sharply unless there were quite a sharp drop in the in the stock market. People at the lower end of income and wealth have a much higher marginal propensity to consume of an incremental dollar of income or wealth, but they don't have the stock market wealth. So I think it's certainly a factor supporting consumption right now. But you would see it if you saw a material correction in spending, but it wouldn't be. You shouldn't think that it'll, you know, dollar for dollar stop consumption, because that wouldn't be the case. Thanks very much.
Want to do. I still like this Palantir breaking through 200 right now. So here goes Palantir right now. It's just an absolute monster, man. Neil, we're $9 in the money right now on this one. So it's a nice move higher here on Palantir and looking to break through 2 bills.
Yeah, now that Powell's done, it felt like you were going to break out the tops, and I guess it just didn't happen yet. But there's still 30 minutes to go. He actually went a little bit longer than normal to end the conference. Ends up being I think earnings are going to matter more here. We get a swath of them tonight, and I feel like that's going to be the big deal. He mentioned the data centers and rates maybe not affecting that so much. We'll see. Like, obviously, Google notwithstanding, this is not going to break out those highs, unfortunately. I was only trading SMCI. I went over from IBIT to SMCI and was more of the same. But I don't love a breakout here with only 30 minutes to go on Alphabet. The fact that it didn't go, I feel like that already kind of sucks. Oklo, you might have heard there was, I don't want to call it a whale or something, but somebody really liked selling 151s. So credit to them. It looks like they might have picked the top. I was thinking about punching short, but didn't want to fight this one. I want to watch to see if we actually break out through VWAP on the Qs, which is currently happening. If that breaks out, maybe a little reversion long to see if this can get back into the highs on OKLO. A bit of a squeeze play that happened in Oklo. It was the one that was moving the most. But yeah, it's already starting to come back in here. I want to see it break this downtrend and the Qs break through here, and then I'd look for some kind of a long. But that doesn't happen. Not really seeing anything I like to the long side.
No, we nailed it there. We made some money on the TQ short. I mean, you guys were watching that. I mean, owed to be short. Like, we were short during this move. So it was a very, very good, another very, very successful Fed day. So we want to say thank you so much to everybody for putting up with that and putting up with us on a little bit of a talk there as the futures started to move around. And, you know, the Nasdaq was 0.4. You're now 0.2. So not much movement there. The ES has turned red, though, and may stay there. That was a nice little drop into the ES. We did see some bank names. I mean, the XLF started to tick lower, and I don't think it's recovered very much, no. So that's a nice little move down. But still, 1.75%, it's not bad. It's been selling off all day, right? The new Fed target rate here, now we now can move forward officially, right? So now we can start looking at December. So this is what it's now like for October. Okay, I'm just going to get a fresh set of data there. All right, so 63% right now that we get that 1 quarter rate point cut, and a third says no cut whatsoever. So yeah, it's getting a little more interesting. That's why obviously I was pretty pessimistic there with the short. So it looks like we were right about that, because that was 85% earlier today. And we said that words like patience and things like that is what we were really looking forward.
It was that fog comment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, no. That
was the second move.
That was this move. Yeah, but we're playing up here, and boom, right there, started to go to the downside there. Some uncertainty in Powell's voice, but yeah, man. I hope you guys were able to do well over there. Bitcoin. Neil had IBIT. I didn't have IBIT. I think you had IBIT. You had SMCI. I only had the futures, so I didn't have anything else during all of this. We were still holding our Palantir from the morning, as I had said before. So, yeah, IBIT did make a move down there into $62, and then it made this move back up. So I don't know how that wound up for you, but that's what I had.
Great. I mean,
yeah, good, nice.
What can you do? I mean, I didn't hold for the absolute bottom on IBIT because when he tanked it, I'm expecting to get one of those mean reversions. So the second I see a buyer, when you get that heavy candle here, I was actually going to throw up the imbalances for everybody, and I still have Oklo up, but I can come back over.
It's already 330.
Yeah, it's already 330. Usually look at the early looks right now. It's just CCL with a big buy. Like somebody came in here at 62.5. and flashed, like there's your heavy candle. So you're like, okay, it's falling. All right, where's the reversion gonna be? And then I saw someone pop up at 62.5. So I just punched out and they got filled, and then it went another leg to the downside, then scalped it back into 63. But as I said, the early look on the imbalance, it's just Carnival with 2.4 million to the buy side. Why Carnival? Don't know.
Carnival.
Nothing special happening with CCL, but that'll go up on a side chart for me automatically. Like that's 10% of the day's volume right there on an early look imbalance. Nothing else stands out. Maybe a little Schwab, but who cares there? QBTS. QBTS with a small sell. The quantum names did rally. Rigetti broke out the high. I guess QBTS also broke out the high, very, very barely there before coming back. Good day for QBTS. D-Wave up 6%. On the session.
All right, I'm going to make a trade. We're going to go long Palantir with a stop at 198.50. If we break through that, we're going to get out. But there it is, Neil. Oh, yeah, says the Kool-Aid man. Let's see if we can get a little bit higher. Oh, yeah. Nice move there as we just bought the dip there in Palantir. I don't know. I just thought we'd do that. It's at the 21 period moving average. I'm not piecing this out like I'm trying to actually physically get it out because on this Fed, okay, here it comes. On this Powell, obviously Fed day, doesn't matter Powell or not, but on Fed day here, the market's going to do what it does.
Powell, because
and we have no idea.
We won't have many chances to say it again.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah, I guess that's right. And then we do have right now, though, the TQs. We got stopped out at VWAP, which is fine. I mean, I got to have an out, right? We had very, very small pieces left of that trade when it did come back up. But that was our stop there. We are now just bouncing off the 50 period again on the futures. This is just... I'm just in it for action. I think if this breaks, hence, we just got long right here, so we'll take a 30-cent hit. We took some out for 30 cents already, but here it comes back in. If we break that, just making sure. Yeah, if we break, there it is. Okay, good. So if we break 50, it's downside. I don't know if I want to short this yet or not. I think VWAP, we kind of missed that shortable opportunity there, but I still want to get long Palantir in case this market rips because I know it has a 200 handle on it. So, but anyways, Palantir, big one today, man. Big trade there for Palantir. And let's just see, we just got out right there. That might have been. Let's take a little bit longer of a look on this. Let's wait till 198. We took less shares right now, and we'll wait. We'll give this one to 198. Right? Let's see what it does at this 50 period. It has the abilities to go down. This is not like an ironclad stock here or anything like that. So let's just wait. Maybe the futures do find a footing here at the 50 period as well. We'll try Palantir just because I think it has more get up to it. We just bounced clean off 200. We went to 199.87 right there. And then just a quick check on my guy gold as I'm bidding around 340 for this. And it's coming back in quite nice right now. So if we can get in, well, maybe it's 350. That's where the 50 period moving average is, but I would have put that in a couple days ago. So we'll relook at where we're bidding, but we want a little bit longer of a move here in gold lower to extend. So that's where we'll get filled if and when that winds up happening. Here comes Palantir. Looks like it will start to go down with the market here. So, okay, I thought that was going to be something there. It doesn't look like it now at all. Google apparently, Jag. Yeah, I mean, we love some Google around here. It's... mistake getting out $100 ago out of some of my shares, but never gonna forget about that. But there it goes. Yeah, Google also at highs, Jag. Good call on that one. Strong name reporting tomorrow.
Yeah, tonight, obviously after the bell, we get, and I completely forgot about it. Obviously, you get Microsoft, Alphabet, and Meta, but Carvana?
Yes.
Anybody?
Odds.
Carvana at 405, Starbucks, eBay as well, Chipotle, Teladoc. Okay, right now I'm kind of looking at this Oklo because Oklo's filled in, not the gap to the low, but the gap to the prior high, which I respect 44 to 45, like this high and then the consolidation here. So it's trended down into it. I'm looking for it to break trend at some point. Oklo didn't really have a story. It just seemed like it was a name that squoze the most on that pump to the upside. Just the only thing I don't love about this is like the futures rejected the volume weighted average price here. So, and we're headed right back down. So that rally just goes right to VWAP and is fading a little bit. I mean, Oklo's relatively strong, I suppose, but that's about the only thing I can hang my hat on for the opportunity to get into that. Like, you could still have a little bit of a late day sell-off in here. So we'll see. Like, I'm staring this one down. Oh, and we did have some super chats that I don't think we acknowledged, but there weren't. Oh, where is it? Now I can't find them.
And funding.
Oh, I'm on the super chats right on the page.
Oh, well, just show them normally.
Yeah, you know, I'll just show it this way. We have a thing that I can put up on, but I couldn't find this one because there's no message. Is that why? This one doesn't have any text. Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple, super chat. That's the name of the, I guess someone made their name, Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple. Maybe those are the three things that you hold in swing account, long-term account. I have no idea, but I do like all three of those names. So thank you for the super chat there. And there was another one you just flashed on stage or on screen. Control Alt Escape, thanks. Drinking game. Every time JP says dual mandate. Well, if you're gonna play a game, you should have hopped on Kalshi. There were a few of those odds were pretty good, and certainly banked. That's how you can do odds for those when it would be so easy for any single one of the reporters. Just pick the longest odds, have your friend make a bet, and then you can force it on them with a question so easily.
That's what I was saying. Now, there's limits to what you can bet, obviously.
I'm actually not aware of. I should check. I've never actually used Kalshi before to see where the limits are.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's different by, but each one probably has their own limit, or they're all.
Yeah, I think it's just I think for these like random bets, like in the Super Bowl and stuff, they just have different limits. It's probably $500, like the maximum you can bet on that because of that exact reason. It can be basically set up. All right, so Palantir does not hold 198. It's actually starting to fail down now. So. All right, well, we tried it, and not doing anything except for going down now is the market also. It's too bad that we stopped out at VWAP, but normally when Powell's done, you know, we've seen the market go upside, but today it goes downside. It goes, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter which way, but today the side is favoring lower.
Yeah, and the VIX is pumping back.
Oh, too bad, man, because we had that TQQ short $1 ago. Oh, man, we got stopped out at 120 there. But it doesn't matter. I mean, we did well. TQs is number 1 name, NVIDIA, number 2 name, Qs, number 3 name, Palantir, all positive. Tesla shot in the dark, nothing happening there for me. We took that really early. Maybe we can get back on that one. Amazon and L. Well, I have one losing stock today, Amazon. So it's been so far so good. One losing stock, AMZN, and then that cup of coffee there for Tesla. So yeah, still really, really good coming through now. But yeah, the market having a little bit of a dip right here. Probably a buy at some point because I don't think there's anything dramatic said there. The only big thing here is, of course, that we did have much more certainty as to a December cut than we do now. I mean, now it's 63. Let me just refresh to see if it's changed at all since we last looked at it. Yeah, nope, that's not right. Got to go to October, then you got to go back. So now 56, getting even worse right now. So it was 63 about 10 minutes ago, now 56. So the chances of a rate cut seem to be getting lower. I would buy that, though. I think there is going to be a rate cut for sure. So, but anyways, that's a little bit of a talk there.
Yeah, I'm still leaning toward cuts.
Of course, yeah, I'm leaning way higher than that.
I think you get the next two, but. You know, that's the fun thing about the markets. Is that camera shift? Nah, no. I don't know, I could be wrong. Anyways, it doesn't really matter in my head. I do love the screen behind us as you can see it being revealed because now you can see that's supposed to be Dara, Brendan, Joe, Sean.
Well, there's no black guy yet, so.
Well, maybe it messes that up. Maybe it turns me into something else and I actually have hair. Like, yeah, you never know. It could be anything. You're holding, is that a phone? It's just a phone.
Yeah, I'm holding a
It's easier
phone.
if I just look. Easier.
Checking the Palantir account. That's why I've got the wink there. Joe's checking his. Who
are you winking at?
The viewers.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Joe's crying at the viewers because he has IBIT, which is IBIT right now is tanking. And then that's Brendan going nuts on the phone there, and Adara drinking her energy drinks.
Which specific energy drink is the real question? Because all of them get dabbled in. Got to be one that's public.
All right, so Celsius.
As it should be, because it might as well be one that is public.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
What is Celsius doing?
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. It's been a good one so far. Which is Obi? I don't know. I mean, there's more to come on that right now. So we'll see if Obi's on there or not. More to come.
Yeah, like half the screen is still to go, but not like the graphic's not going to be.
They're in the middle of building it now.
Yeah. Look at the progress. Half done in just a few hours.
All right. Should be a fun one there. I do have that red Raptors hat. Maybe I'll wear it tomorrow. Raptors. I mean, tonight we have Jays, Raptors, Leafs.
Max Domi, man.
So, yeah, Max Domi. Yeah, there was a story about Max Domi. What was it? Overtime, right, yesterday?
Yeah, he dropped a couple goals.
Yeah. They won in overtime last night.
Can he score 40?
What?
You think he'll score 40?
No, he can't score 20.
So?
No. He's a 20-goal scorer at
only
max. He's 20 at max.
So how?
No one on the Leafs. Nylander and Matthews. Maybe Tavares is looking for his four. It's all about injuries.
Didn't Tavares is like 1 goal away?
Yes, from 5.
That's the one.
Unless he got that
when
yesterday.
we had Sean and I had for 1 year. We actually had season tickets to the Maple Leafs, and the last game of the season, Leafs versus Montreal, Matt Sundin was sitting on 497 goals, and he got a hat trick. And probably a bigger hockey fan than me should have had that game. Is all I can say.
I don't even remember.
Like it was super cool. It was an amazing moment, but I felt like, man. Like, I like hockey, but somebody else needed to see it. It's like if, again, I'm not going to make a baseball parallel because tonight I'm going to be going ham. All right, I'm going to put hands off the keys for Oklo here. This is not bouncing. Like, it's almost filling the whole move back, like maybe VWAP, but it's now 340 as this just continues to go to the downside, unfortunately. Early look, still just CCL, 2.6 million. Early look to the buy side. Nothing stands out. QBTS still a very small sell, 660. HIMS is 500,000 to the sell. But if it's not a million, like for HIMS especially, this does 16 million shares today. Yeah, if we're not looking over 1 million shares, then this is not going to be an interesting imbalance at all. Dijon Mustard, I agree with you. Matt Sundin is criminally underrated. I think that's an easy one to put on. Because you know what? For the Toronto Maple Leafs, your expectations are unfairly high. And so if you don't win or come close to winning, you aren't remembered probably the way that you should be. The guy's an absolute legend.
Okay. Agree with that. Obviously, I'm Matt Sundin. Okay, so I'm just going to give this to 197 just to see what happens here at the end of the day. I don't like this. I don't like what's the market's not doing anything now. So, I mean, we do have imbalances in 8 minutes. That could change this completely. So we'll just sit here and wait, right? It just went into the money for us. I obviously didn't take anything out here on PLTRs. We'll just wait for it. Is gold bouncing back or going down? We looked at that not too long ago. Crazy cousin of silver. Let's see what that's doing. I know that we had a
little stronger.
I don't know if it was Ozan or who in the chat yesterday was talking all about silver. But yeah, still strong, right? Much stronger than gold. It already had its pullback into the 50.
Well, that's the difference.
Yeah, so that's the difference. So some weakness there in gold, in silver, much weaker than gold, back to the 50 though.
If you were buying the 50, you already got it.
Right, so good look there on SLV, right? So thanks for bringing that up yesterday and then into today again. Up that 1%. Was up a lot more earlier on, but nothing right now on that particular name. SLV anyways. Gold miners, you can pick up some of that as well. But here as we go into the close, let's just have a quick little look right here and see what exactly is up with this. So this is what's happening right now. It doesn't look like the banks like this, man. The finance sector right now getting hit. Goldman Sachs down 1.5, WFC 1 1/3, MasterCard, Visa, Burke getting hit as well. So that's yuck. Coinbase, everything right now. Robinhood downside. I'm gonna add. I don't see SoFi on here, but that's probably down as well. Heading into healthcare. Wow, that's really, really bad, man. I don't even know what IQV is. IQVIA. IQVIA Holdings, okay? Congratulations if you own that one in the healthcare space. You are up, health technologies, not healthcare, because I think UNH was up earlier. They had a nice report yesterday. But right there, Eli Lilly down 1%, Abbott Labs down 2%. So that's not great. Ooh, here we go. All thanks to Caterpillar. I think there was another couple names that may be reported in here as well. GEV finally back to greens today, as we talked about that. Yeah, LCRX, AMAT 4, yeah, so Lam Research. JBL, all right, HubSpot with CRM. Where's CRM up in here? CRM is not a consumer manufacturing. It's in here somewhere. Technology should be CRM. Where's CRM? I don't know. There it is. Yeah, down 0.1, or sorry, down 1%. Yuck for CRM. So, all right, energy up. So with Exxon and CVX reporting in 2 days. So if you like these names, have a look at XOM and do some research tonight on all of that. All right, Mr. Tendy says Microsoft, Google, Meta. Neil, which one do you think will be up the most tomorrow?
Microsoft, Google, Meta. Oh, Google's gonna move the most, I would think. What are the implied percentages? 6.6, 4.7. Actually, Meta's 6.9 expected.
I don't. Yeah, but those have been all.
Yeah, those have been all over the place. I think the one with the most potential, based on the cloud number, because like Microsoft's cloud number was so big, and the ramp on Microsoft's last earnings was so gigantic that I feel like it's not going to be them. It's between Meta. I spoke positively about Meta in Alphabet. This is a tough one because Meta's the one that I dip bought a couple months ago. So I guess that's the horse that I'm actually betting on because I haven't bought Google recently. So I'll go with Meta. I kind of like them equally. So I'll pick Meta.
Yeah, I think
like that's the. I wish I could tell you that Alphabet was the one that I bought a couple months ago, but it was. Oh, sorry, the Google's one I bought a couple months ago, but it was Meta.
Yeah, I'd go with Meta too. I think Meta's going to have a big number there as well. Gold continuing lower. Let's look at the dollar again quickly here. Not doing much on the DXY. It's kind of hovering near the highs of the day and thinking about turning around. That'd be good for tech stocks, but we'll see if that does wind up happening here. DXY making a little bit of a move downside right now. Still waiting for something to happen in Palantir. That's crazy. I was bidding 26s. I honestly think it went to 27. Went to 30, yeah, 30s. So missed it by 5 cents, and we'd be back in the money right now. But that's okay. Hopefully it comes back in and does that. So here goes the dollar making a move back in just a little bit, up 0.5. Today is the DXY, the dollar index. Now remember, we do have these imbalances coming through. I mean, right now CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines, got a bid under it maybe. Wow, that's $28. Hey, okay, I haven't looked at Carnival in a while. I thought this was a teens name. Oh, it was up into $30 before. Okay, CCL, nice move. Right there, Schwab. Neil already went over this, but Schwab. QBTS, we can have a quick little look again at the quantum names. QBTS bouncing a little bit there upside. We did have a kind of a crazier move. I thought it was in RGTI. I was looking at that as the numbers were coming out. Yeah, so they've all faded back out a little bit. Still up nicely, though, 6% on the day for Rigetti. And it was Oklo had a story there midday as Powell was talking. And that kind of came out, not midday, mid-speech, sort of at 3 o'clock. And it made a move up to 151. And then, wow. These names, man, like it makes it look silly sometimes when you're trading these other names because, like,
which one?
Just this was already went from 138 at 2:30 up to 152, back to 143. It just went down $9. Oklo there, like that's 5% back in for OKLO, man. Let's just check out DJT.
That's the kind of thing Vana could do tomorrow. Carvana.
Yeah, Carvana's a $500 name, right? Yeah. Or so. I think
it is
430.
They should split.
There's DJT all the way down here as well. So
if I was a squeeze stock, you're 350. You should split it because it's cheaper. Just makes it cheaper for anybody and everybody to play options. Like up here, look, man. Accept that that's part of it's part of your story, whether you like it or not. For sure. I believe we're going to be going up today because I see Joe Schmo was asking about the news on BBAI.
Ooh.
What happened here was a representative by the name of Lisa McClain, who's actually in Republican leadership here for the congressional group. Lisa McClain disclosing apparently a purchase in BBAI that circulated. We had that pop to the upside. Now I looked a little bit more into her as well. She's actually on the Committee in Armed Services. Now, if we know anything about Big Bear AI, we know that like Palantir, they're kind of known for their Army contracts, which is also interesting because she's also on the subcommittee on cyber, information technologies and innovation. within the Committee on Armed Services. So interesting look here for Lisa McLean and her reported purchase of BBAI, which again reported via a filing that she put out there. Back to you.
Okay, right here we go, man. It's Palantir's world eventually. Let's see if it can go back upside. We're now long in the 50s. We did get that long that we talked. I mean, we said we were bidding 26s. We got it. Now we go back to the upside here. I'm going to offer some more right now at 79. I am offering some at 89s. So hopefully we can get upside. We only have now a minute left until the imbalances. So, you know, playing dips seems to have worked in this market lately. I mean, if you dipped out into the 50 period for the futures, you would have got a nice little long there as well. You did have to withhold some of these moves, and then there's the key level 2 of VWAP. So hopefully we can get going again. I'm just actually going to offer right now at, okay, well, there we go. We get 85s. Let's go to the upside right now on PLTR. We're just sort of stacking it up at this point. The day for me is over. We're just going to hold this and see if it can climb in through. Now we've got a big win on this one. So I'm going to average this out one more time in the 90s, and then we'll see if we can get higher into, obviously, above and beyond. So we're still going to stop out on a 190. Well, let's just stop out maybe on a break if it comes back into where we're long. How about that? 197.30 stop out for PLTR. I was going to go 197, but now that we have the imbalances like literally right now, let's just stop out if it takes out 30s down to 24. We'll push offer, enter, and we just got another fill right there on PLTR. So average price good. Let's see if it continues higher here. We're only out of half though. I'm going to get out another piece right now before these imbalances hit in 9 seconds.
Yeah, 9 seconds to the imbalances, like you said, nothing too crazy. If you see one of the earnings names, maybe it gets a little bit more juice. Of course, the big 3, Microsoft, Meta, and Alphabet. And
Neil, there must have been a huge bid there on Palantir. Palantir is now $1.55 in the money right now as we just shoot that up. Go for the moon. Right there, that was a good one, man. I don't even have the imbalances loaded, but there it goes again. We've had like
NVIDIA 2.5 mil buy, and
good. Oh, man.
That's it.
We had a $10
to sell.
Yeah, we had a $9 winner on Palantir earlier. We'll add this to $1.50 right now and get that right back to the upside. Man, did we do well? I mean, we don't talk about P&Ls, but I tell you, man, like we were short those Qs right there. We nailed that trade. And then this Palantir trade is just starting to extend life here to the upside for that stock as it gets back to 198 and change. 200 tomorrow is the break on Palantir. We'll have that written out as well, but there it goes. Nice move to the upside here on PLTR. No positions for Neil, and this is all that I've got right now.
Yeah, for me, didn't see anything on the imbalances that really like my interest. If anyone, this is a buyout deal that's closing, so it'll be gone tomorrow. CCL came out smaller than expected. NVIDIA was the only real buy and only 2.6 million shares. Oh, there it is. You have to scroll down. Palantir actually was a buy. It came out as 1 million to buy, which is pretty sizable for Palantir. So big imbalance on that. Remember, at 355, oftentimes these imbalances will pair off, or at least shrink. Pair completely or shrink. So a couple of buy imbalances. The overall market was 1.5 million to the buy side. Nasdaq 1.2. Good, not great. The Dow 940. The Mag 7 760. We've got Meta, which is absolutely flying going into earnings. Obviously, with some of the imbalances being green, that makes a little bit of sense. And then, of course, we've got Alphabet, which is at all-time highs. That's another thing that Alphabet has maybe going against it versus Meta, is that Meta has room to the highs on earnings, whereas Alphabet, that wick, Alphabet is breaking out the top. So it just makes it a little bit distinctly different. Microsoft, of course, as well, going to be after the bell. Small move on Microsoft. It hasn't been very strong all day long, especially after they got that news yesterday. This one just has not, just been selling off for whatever reason on Softy. Meta out of the 3 for me.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything with my portfolio, rebalancing it or anything like that. I'm just going to wait to see what winds up happening for these major tech earnings plays. Also, we've only traded 6 names today. We have 1 losing trade, and that was just very, very clean, and that was Amazon. Oops, where was it? Right here. Well, only because we actually lost it. We actually lost it. Not a decent amount, but we lost an amount. I guess a decent amount on that one because we were trying to short it into VWAP and then it just blew up almost immediately against us. So we do have that red number, and then this is literally a cup of coffee. Not much going on. We didn't have very many shares at all when Tesla did this little dance. So just 6 names for me today. Amazon and NVIDIA is huge. That name just continues to work out, man. We really loved NVIDIA today. SoFi, another big name today as well. So that's two 2 for 2. TQs, I mean, we don't need to discuss that too much. That was a really great trade today. And then Tesla, we already did that, and then Palantir. Well, you know, Palantir. When you're going long down here, and it ends the day near the highs, you got yourself a decent day there for PLTR, including now $1.50 in the bag. But if that was a buy imbalance, it will flip over. So I'm going to get some. So there we go. We just got some more outs there on Palantir. Just hit offer enter and grab that out there on PLTR, because it probably at 355 will wind up flipping over. I have 15% left of Palantir, and it's a good one. That is for sure. So 6 names for me on this side. We'll figure out Neil when he gets back. We got to go over to Adara. What's up, Adara?
I just want to mention here, I've seen some people asking about when the meeting is happening between President Xi of China and President Trump of the US. As far as I can tell, it looks like what seems to be accurate here is 10 p.m. Eastern is when this is going to happen. Now, I'm seeing this on the website that tracks Trump's official calendar, so that would be 11, because I've seen a lot of people say 11 a.m. Looks like that will be, as I kind of assumed earlier, it'll be 11 a.m. local time, which would mean on Thursday, which would mean it's today at 10 p.m. Eastern here in Canada. That'll be, I guess, taken there from Busan, South Korea. Looks like the out-of-town travel pool will be there, so there's a pretty large chance this could potentially be recorded to some degree, but it really depends. Sometimes these meetings are entirely recorded, sometimes it's just the meet and greet. So if I get more details, I'll let you know. But again, unlikely to get more details before that 10 p.m. Eastern meeting. I just wanted to clarify that's the timing I've seen, though I have seen some other conflicting reports as well. Now, before we send you back to the guys, I do want to take a moment to remind everybody, here is the post-market earnings haul. Meta, Microsoft, Alphabet, Carvana, Mercado Libre, Starbucks, eBay, Teladoc, Chipotle, ServiceNow. You can get these implied moves and this whole calendar and X at GTV Research. Back to you.
Thank you very much there, Adara. We're good, Andre. So
thank you very much, Adara.
For too long, way too long, we've been telling you that risking your own money has been a tough way to start trading. You got that fear of losing. It's what kept a lot of traders on the sideline. But guess what? It's changing. It's changing because Trade the Pool is transforming how traders can access the markets. With its limited risk trading model, traders use funded capital while Trade the Pool absorbs the downside. This allows traders to focus on what truly matters, get disciplined, have consistency, and get growth. When you hit the profit target, you get to keep 70% of the profits. No fear, no barriers, just real opportunity. This is the revolution of limited risk trading powered by Trade the Pool. Visit tradethepool.com, scan the QR code in front of you, get 10% off your first evaluation. Want to shout out to them. 355 hit, and obviously a bunch of these did pair off significantly. So you're not going to see any of that NVIDIA bid, RNA, I do know that one. Now RKT, pretty much nothing stayed. Down to 700,000 is NVIDIA. The Palantir also going to be gone. After the bell, it's right at 4 o'clock. Right at 4 o'clock, we're going to get Microsoft and Meta, expected 4 o'clock. Then Alphabet and Carvana at 4:05. Those are going to be the 2 ones next. We got a few other ones. Starbucks as well going to be reporting. I like Meta. But the thing to keep in mind, if you're not even invested in these names and maybe you don't care as much, think about the CapEx spend. That's the number that moves the markets. That's the number that matters for the AI trade. And so for all 3 of these names, you want to hear maintaining CapEx spend. If they drop that, then we drop. I don't want to say drop like a rocket, but for everything that NVIDIA is down on the day, believe it or not, but for everything NVIDIA's been doing well, this could be a little bit of a top if you were to see them drop that CapEx spend. So that's the key number for myself. About the only thing that would spook me into thinking we've hit a little bit of a top there is going to be the CapEx spend. The top and bottom lines don't matter to me as much. I mean, guidance, of course, as usual, is going to matter.
Yeah, it should be something there for sure, but Palantir is not reporting anytime soon. All right, so again, a great day here. Hoping that this market will eventually settle down, especially if you're a Bitcoin trader. What, I don't know. I mean, look, everybody that holds Bitcoin is going to tell you the same thing, right? Oh, I'm not selling, I'm waiting forever. I'm going to hold this in my account, and it's true, right? There's a lot, most people will do that and tell you that. But I mean, if you are trading in and out of Bitcoin, you have to be a little disappointed, I think, unless you're short, of course, with this most recent move, as the markets are going to go out near or at all-time highs, right? So we're going to figure it out where it goes after all of this is settled. But yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with it. I can't see how anybody else would be, as Bitcoin down another 3% here today, well off that 66 and not even close to any of the highs. But I think there's, you know, a good opportunity that eventually comes back in. So, you know, I like it. I bought recently at 108 flat. So maybe if we get another opportunity to do that, we'll see if it's support again down there for Bitcoin. So Neil's going to go get ready to go on all of this, and we will figure out exactly where we go on Bitcoin moving forward. So yeah, that's what's going on over there right now. Apple, SMR, we could check out Apple quickly. Let's just check out the big ones going into the earnings, right? So this is what we have tonight. We have, and I just posted these up, it's on Trader TV Research. There's only 1 minute left. What names we're looking at right here, just real quickly before we go over to the desk. It's Meta at 4, it's Microsoft. Like, I'm gonna throw it right at 4. Neil may not be ready, but Adara will be. Is that fine, Adara? Are you ready? Okay, I think they're both ready. Meta, Microsoft, Google, so they're coming like crazy. So 30 more seconds, man, and we go over there. Carvana, 405, Melly, Starbucks, they're all like almost immediately right off the jump. Meta, Microsoft, Google, Carvana. So yeah, it's gonna be an exciting one. Watch out now. There goes Google going out into the print at all-time highs. All right, with only 30 seconds left now, or sorry, 15 seconds left now, let's get some more out here on PLTR, and then we'll just work it on that way, right? So here goes Palantir, getting some, there we go, we get some 73s, we are almost out, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, bang. All right, the Nasdaq right now as we get ready for earnings, man, they're gonna be out, and they're gonna be out fast and furious right there. As that board gets built up behind us, pretty soon you'll see all the crew there at Trader TV Live. I still do have some Palantir shares here, so I will have to get out. Google is almost out now. You just give me the thumbs up when they're ready. I mean, this is a major, okay, you guys let me know I'm here, when to go over. We'll just stay on here until they're ready. Google, we're waiting for them to come through. We're waiting for Meta to come out now as well. These are gonna be the two right off the jump. Microsoft is out of the gates as well, so we're gonna wait. There it is, Microsoft potentially starting to go right now. Andre, go. See you guys.
And we're locked and loaded, ready to go. Microsoft and Meta already making some moves. Not crazy, and I haven't seen the numbers, but you are seeing maybe some fat fingers. Softy first, and then obviously, of course, Meta. Softy is going to be flat, and we'll bring all of the action to you. And here's Meta as well. Little bit of a push to the upside, but it's still flat. Hasn't broken the top. If the numbers are already out, then to me, this is a bit of a disappointment in terms of action. But that, I don't think these numbers are, I haven't seen them just yet. You're floating around a $3 range here on Meta, 752 into 755. The book doesn't seem to be going crazy just yet either, as you can tell. Like, you see the time in sales? That's not really doing much of anything. So, of course, Market Show brought to you by Beta Pro by GlobeX. And we'll have these and Alphabet are the first ones to come out. So, Adara.
I'm not seeing earnings yet.
Neither Meta nor Microsoft. Though Microsoft's actually breaking the highs, but the volume and volatility doesn't suggest it's out. I do remember a couple of quarters ago, we did have to wait for Meta. We stayed on until Zuckerberg finally figured it out. Well after 4:30.
Oh yeah.
But that's fine. We're going to be here for it regardless of how it works out. Microsoft, Meta, Google. We do have Carvana also going to be reporting, and of course there was the Fed earlier. Didn't really move all of that much, but you did hear Powell throw a little bit of shade on that December cut.
Yeah, he basically said, "Do not expect it." He said to anybody expecting it, you know, like what I just said. I literally said, "Do not expect it. Don't necessarily price it in." So I think he just, more than anything, I think he just wants people to be cautious and aware that even if we price things in, if we make assumptions, we're not automatically going to get a cut just because people want there to be a cut. And I was not expecting.
Alphabet.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen it yet, but.
Alphabet is flying to the upside, $7. We were expecting Meta or Microsoft first, but it is Google first off the bat, and they are bumping higher, Adara.
Okay, I'm seeing this on X here. I don't have all of the numbers either, but it's just being circulated. So right now what I'm seeing here looks like earnings of $2.87 per share. That would be well above estimates. Q3 Google Cloud revenue, yeah, so I can confirm there. We had, and it's moving so fast. Okay, 287 here, earnings per share, as I said there, that was correct. Above estimates of 233. Sales, 102.346 billion. That is well above estimates, Neil, and everybody, of 99.641 billion. So double beat, massive double beat in their Google Cloud sales, 15.2 billion, well above estimates of $14.8 billion. Mercado Libre, I almost said Meli, M-E-L-I, they also here reported earnings. Right now, looks like Q3 earnings of $8.32 per share. Not really sure how that compares to estimates of $9.40. Revenue here, $7.41 billion.
Microsoft,
beating estimates. Let's see here. I don't have Microsoft yet, but I'll take a look.
Microsoft dropping as we speak. It just lost about 15 bucks, 2.5% to the downside for Microsoft. Oh, the Azure one not looking very good. They did beat on revenue, I can see in EPS, but must be some disappointment down the line a little bit here, Adara.
I'll just tell you what I have. So we have revenue up 18% year over year, operating income up 24% year over year. GAAP net income up 12%, non-GAAP here up 22%, GAAP EPS up 13%, non-GAAP EPS up 23%. Segment performance, we're up on cloud year over year, up on Azure year over year, up on productivity. I'm really not seeing anything kind of weak or dodgy to suggest this drop. I still haven't seen Meta yet either, but again, Microsoft looks like this was a double beat, and all the segments are up too.
Well, it's going to be, I think the key is you're going to see what it's going to be the cloud numbers. I want to see what Azure's growth rate is going to be. That's the number
40%.
that we want to see. 40%.
It was above expectations.
How do you flush into the 50 period on that? This is the 50 period, might be a nice one here on the daily, I mean. So the 50 period SMA here on the daily, that's exactly, and it's already bouncing off the 50 period, about $512 there on Microsoft. Of course, Alphabet had a very different fate just now. It's approaching $300, double digits to the upside here on Alphabet, as this is absolutely flying. I mean, they're 31% margins. That's going to be fantastic. Of course, they beat as well. And yeah, another big cloud name for sure. Meta, unfortunately, we do not have just yet. So once again, oh, wait a minute. I spoke too soon. Literally just saw Meta break the lows. Looks like this one must have just dropped here.
Yeah, waiting for the numbers here on Meta. Looks like we have Starbucks, but I'm not seeing those numbers either. I just saw that they released their report. Talk about Microsoft top and bottom line. Adjusted earnings, $4.13 per share versus estimates of $3.67. Sales, $77.673 billion above estimates of $75.329 billion. And I'm still waiting here on META, our good friend. So once I get that, I'll let you guys know. But it looks like Starbucks reported. I was seeing that the report was released. I'm probably going to have to read through this. Yeah, I just have the report out right now. Consolidated net revenues up 5% year over year. That's not bad. Let me see how things are compared. Okay, global comparable sales up 1%, driven primarily by a 1% increase in comparable transactions. So that's not bad. North America and U.S. comparable store sales are flat, which is also not bad, Neil, because we often are expecting decreases now for those comp sales in the U.S. So
and that's
not a bad look. Pardon?
Yeah, wait, I have Microsoft up as that's right at that 50 period on the daily we were talking about, but Carvana, yikes. And look, Carvana, look at the book. I don't know if you guys, it'd be hard for you to see the book, but believe me when I tell you, liquidity is at a large premium on the bid here of Carvana. There isn't any liquidity on this bid as it drops now 14%. Very different from what you're seeing in, say, a Microsoft, which is normal. Obviously, these are bigger names. Like Softy bounced and actually got back over 520 for a minute there and heading right back lower. So there was a bounce a little bit on Microsoft. Meta, which was a third of these 3 Mag 7 names, maybe testing that 700 as well.
Yeah, Meta Q3 revenue $51.24 billion, above estimates of $49.41 billion. Just our earnings here of $1.05 per share, operating margin 40%. They're guiding Q4 revenue between 56 and 59 billion. Not sure how that compares to estimates. And once again, Neil, they raised the lower end of their capex guidance for the year. It was 64 billion as of Q1. It was 66 billion as of Q2. Now the low end of their capex guide is 70 billion. Higher end remains at 72 billion.
But revenue lower.
Yeah. Interesting look
revenue guide lower, if that's what I heard correctly. So
I always saw, I don't know how that compares to estimates, like I said. Okay, so actually, it's in line. It's exactly in line. So they got a Q4 revenue, as I mentioned, between 56 and 59 bill. Estimates were 57.38 bill, so their midpoint, right in line with estimates. They also took on a almost $16 billion non-cash charge on their tax bill. So almost $16 billion charge. I say almost because it's 15.93 billion. Starbucks here reporting revenue of 9.6 billion above estimates of 9.35 billion. Adjusted EPS narrowly missing estimates, 52 cents versus 56 cents expected. And as I mentioned, their China sales up 2% year over year. U.S. comp sales are actually going to be relatively flat year over year, which is not a bad look. I have Carvana as well.
Well, the most important thing, I think you said one-off there for Meta in terms of one-off skewing that EPS number so much right into the 200-period moving average on the daily. So it was the 50-period for Microsoft. It looks like it's the 200-period for Meta, which is the buying opportunity. That's why we like those metrics. And you see, I know a few people have mentioned this one in the chat. I want to appreciate them, of course. A little bit of a drop in Amazon. Look, when you have a situation where two of the big three drop, and Google doing just fine, at least it was last time I checked a couple of seconds ago, but Amazon on sympathy heading to the downside. And if you look at it, if we have a quick look or a glance over at the Qs during all of this, like the futures were breaking higher. Like the first one to come out was Alphabet, so we actually broke higher. Now just coming back in and flat because it's a little bit mixed right now. You've got a couple names down, one to the upside. If you're wondering how that CapEx spend is working for NVIDIA, NVIDIA's stands put. Stands pat, basically doing absolutely nothing. But remember, NVIDIA made some all-time highs today. But that's a bit confirmatory, at least from the standpoint of Meta. It's confirmatory for the CapEx spend. That's what you needed to see. I think there's more of a concern if Meta or any of their hyperscalers had dropped their expectations for CapEx spend. I don't think it does much to boost the AI play, but certainly it could have done some harm, which it looks like it might not have done so, at least for today. But Meta, right off that 200-period moving average, trying to hold $700 here, but it is that big one-off which has caused that miss, like the big miss on EPS, it looks like.
The second thing is without the one-off, they actually would have beat on EPS.
Right.
So again, $1.05 would not have been the case. It actually would have been about $7.25 without the charge, which would have been a beat. Let's talk about Carvana, though, because they did beat on sales, Neil, but they missed on EPS. GAAP earnings of $1.03 per share versus estimates of $1.24. Sales, $5.647 billion, up a whopping 55% year over year, and beating estimates of $5.061 billion. So good look there for Carvana. Currently net income for CVNA of $263 million. Now what I'm just looking here for is going to be our pal eBay. eBay is out. I just saw, so we'll go over eBay. EBAY dropping.
ServiceNow is up.
ServiceNow is out? Okay, I'll look for that as well. ServiceNow we'll take a look at. Looks like it's up. Okay, ServiceNow is a double beat, guys. Q3 adjusted earnings, $4.82 per share, beating estimates of $4.27, and sales of $3.407 billion, beating estimates of $3.353 billion. They also said they're going to be integrating FedEx DataWorks Economic Supply Chain Network with their ServiceNow AI platform to power some, apparently, supply chains of the future.
It's a pretty decent beat for them, but it's maybe on the EPS anyways, but the revenue was a slight beat for them on the revenue, but a pretty good beat on EPS. Only a couple of percentage points to the upside. It is worth mentioning. It's always worth remembering. You got to temper the expectations here for ServiceNow. This is a good spike, but half the expected move. Implied move was 8%, and you are moved 4% to the upside. So a little bit of work to be done, and then you can go both ways with that. Right, like we can look at something like Alphabet, which also spiked initially on their beat, and the expected move was 6.5%. It's dipping back into 6.5% and holding right now there on Alphabet. So if it can hold this 285 area, which I'm not really seeing anything that stands out on the tape or the book at that price, but for now it's holding it. It's holding above the expected move. That's a little bit bullish for Alphabet. I wish I could tell you, unfortunately, that Meta was bullish. The good news It is seeming like a one-off item, which caused that APS miss. The bad news, it flunked down 6.5% plus, was down more than that. In the case of Meta, the implied move, it's more or less right there. Like it was 6.9%. It's right now down just about that much. So let's see if it can hold on to this bid. My guess is that that 200 period, probably a buying opportunity in there for Meta if you're able to hit the keys. That's why you zoom out, everybody, especially when you see something like that where it's just a one-off line item causes that bit of a miss.
Yeah, I want to talk here about Starbucks. I did go over these earnings already, guys, but I'll go over them again because a lot of people are asking about them. Joe Schmo, very understandably asking, why is this up on these earnings? And the simple reason is that I mentioned earlier, we did not have a decline in U.S. comparable sales. They were flat year over year. China sales actually up 2% year over year. They did miss on EPS, but they beat on sales. So again, I think with Starbucks, the biggest thing you have to remember, those comp sales not being down in the U.S. is a nice positive surprise, which is sad, but it's also true. Talk about eBay quickly, and then I'll go over to Chipotle, see what they're spicing up there. Let's talk about eBay. eBay revenue, $2.8 billion, above estimates of $2.73 billion. Adjusted earnings, $1.36 per share, above estimates of $1.33. Now we'll talk here about CMG. Chipotle, earnings, 29 cents per share, in line with estimates of 29 cents. Revenue, $3 billion, above estimates of $3.02 billion expected. So in line or narrow beats, that's really all we got there for eBay. Chipotle kind of mixed. With Chipotle, they also said here their operating margin, 15.9%, comp sales up 0.3% year over year. At their fiscal 2025 comp sales, they're expecting to decline in the low single digits, and they are planning apparently 315 to 345 new restaurants.
Well, I can tell you this much. They better have beat because you're still very, very close. It was 20, the forward P was 29 going into this, and it was trying to catch a bottom. So improvement there to get it in the low 20s should be a little bit of a help. I actually don't know the exact number. That'll correct tomorrow. But Chipotle basically flat on this, up less than 1%. I'd call that disappointment. Expected move was almost 10% with Chipotle, 9.7%. And again, for a stock that's trying to bottom out, when you beat, you're supposed to fly. Why? Because expectations can't be that high, and it's like, how much further can it get to the downside? So I think that's a little bit disappointing, at least so far, for Chipotle, but we can see what will happen next. I do want to circle back. Remember, the big three obviously are going to move the market the most. One, Microsoft, down less than the expected move, only 3.6%. I believe that to be true. Yeah, it's the expected move, 4.7%. So it's slightly underneath that move, but to the downside for Microsoft. This is a name that just feels, when they had that massive beat and move last earnings, look where the top is. It's made the exact same top and just pulled right back in like nothing has happened. So I think it's going to be key to hold on to that 510 for Microsoft. It just feels like it was going to have to be pretty spectacular for them to be able to get through that top on Softy, and that's certainly holding true right now. And then, of course, hey, the good news is, can Google do all of the heavy lifting? Right now, it's doing a pretty good job of it, dragging the Qs to the upside. It's still finding support at that 285. This is a case where you can look at that implied move, and it is providing support for Google or for Alphabet after their beat. Let's see if we can get to 300. This seems like it is the one that it just can't stop. You've got such a great moat with them. Everyone's concerned about search, and then they're forgetting about cloud, and then they're forgetting about YouTube, and then they're forgetting about the fact that it's probably the best quantum play out there. They're just making it work, and everyone, again, always concerned about browser, search, OpenAI. Forget all the other levers that they're able to pull. And the craziest thing about it is it was the cheapest of the Mag 7 names on a PE basis when it was making this crazy rally, and now you just get absolutely more of that for sure. But it's the disappointing one. Microsoft, not that bad. Meta's the disappointment here. I just question, when everyone's able to sort of go over the report, maybe take a deeper look at the EPS miss, what happens overnight? And then look at the conference call is probably going to be pretty big for them.
Yeah, I think that'll certainly be significant. I do want to go over to Microsoft, though, because as you said with Meta, it's very obvious why this is down. With Microsoft, it's
I couldn't tell you.
Like, I'll be honest. So revenue up 18% year over year, EPS up 13% year over year, double beat. Operating income up 24% year over year. The more personal computing revenue segment up 4% year over year. Microsoft Cloud revenue 26% up. We've got intelligent cloud revenue up 28% year over year, and Azure up 40% year over year. Let me know when you guys want me to stop. 40%. There is no segment that is down year over year. Even Xbox is up 1% year over year. Most of these increases, guys, are in the double digits. So I have very little to say for Microsoft except for a big eyebrow raise in the Scooby-Doo sound, because I really could not tell you, to be honest. Meta, it's quite obvious why they're down. I kind of explained as well why I think Starbucks is up here, because with SBUX, sure, we have an EPS miss, but, that's the wording. But with Starbucks, sure, you have the EPS miss, but you did have the Meta beat, and you also had, again, the comparable sales increase in China, and the lack of a comparable sales decrease in the US. In fact, it was flat, and I'll show you my fun little Brian Nickel infographic, if I can find it quickly, on X at GTV Research, so you guys can see generally how this company has done recently. And here it is. So like Q3 25, because they just reported for Q4, global same-store sales were down 2% year over year. Neil, that was larger than expected. Now, North American same-store sales, a little bit better than expected, but still down 2%. So you have to remember, with that context, this is actually not a bad look for SBUX. MELI, Mercado Libre.
Quick question for you on just sticking with Starbucks. Adara, what's the date that Brian Nickel took over?
September 9th, 2025, I believe.
Unbelievable.
September 8th or 9th, I think it was.
I love putting Adara on the spot. She has a fantastic memory. Either way, it has been languishing a little bit here. This could be the start of something. Michael Jackson, you want to be starting something? Well, you got to be holding the 50-period moving average if you want to be starting something. And that's what I think you key on going into tomorrow, about $85 on this bad boy. So, I mean, ultimately, as you said, same store here. I say here, but I mean the U.S. Looking pretty good. I think maybe that'll be enough, but you've got to confirm it. It's one thing to hold a level in the aftermarket, right? It's another thing to do so when the big money comes in at the open tomorrow. That's the bigger story. And even that for Meta, I'm going to go back to Meta here because, I mean, obviously, look, Microsoft, that's a big beat, but I can wrap my head around the price action because of the price that it was trying to get to after the last massive earnings beat. However, I was just talking about Google and how cheap it was going into this rally and why probably the valuation caused a lot of that bump. Meta is going to, and someone mentioned, I think it was Rivian Millionaire in the chat. Shout out to you, Rivian Millionaire. You just pointed it out that Meta is going to be cheaper on a PE basis than Alphabet. And without doing the math, I did a quick glance at it, and I think you're absolutely going to be right. One down 7.5%, and the other one up almost double digits. That's an absolute no-brainer. Meta, to me, based on that, is going to start being a dip buy on these earnings. Again, just that one line item there, Adara. And then Carvana, that's the other name that we haven't talked maybe as much about, 13% to the downside here for CVNA. This is, for me at least, this is not something that I'm like, oh, let me go run out and buy this one at the 200-period moving average. I don't put it in that category. However, I'm pretty sure a certain person that I know might be interested in trading this tomorrow.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say I'm doing a mental note to ask Neil for shorts on this tomorrow because we know this is my type of play. And Carvana, I've noticed with Carvana, my thing is it's always like the time that I'm not looking at it when I have my locates ready to go. Well, sometimes I don't even need to pay for shorts. But the point is, with Carvana, it's always the moment you're not looking at it that it moves. My luck with this name is kind of mixed. But either way, on watch now, I have to be pretty sad, Neil, because one of my spready ticker friends is leaving me. ServiceNow with a 5-to-1 stock split. I'm joking, it'll still be $200. But either way, your ServiceNow with a 5-for-1 stock split. It is good news. I'm joking a little bit. But Q3 adjusted earnings, $4.82 per share, well above estimates of $4.27. Sales, $3.407 billion, above estimates of $3.353 billion. I mentioned as well that FedEx news. And I do want to thank everybody in the chat for the kind words with regards to the memory and everything. I really appreciate that. I'm happy to be able to use it for something because it's such a weird little, I guess, piece of access that I have. So I really appreciate it.
It's not just, it's a gift. It's a gift to you. It's a gift to us. I don't have to remember Jack around here because I can just ask Adara when something that's supposed to be in my head isn't actually there anymore. So I can just look at prices and look at charts and do what we love to do. But it's a view to you. It's great to you guys. the viewers, because like, to have that resource, and then the live news, to be able to parse something very quickly and then be able to bring it back. Trust me when I tell you, it is incredibly hard to do. I used to have to fill in for Brendan when he was off, and I was absolutely terrible trying to be on the news desk. It is a ridiculously difficult job. It seems easy, it's very hard, and you know people are relying on you because they want to make sure they get everything correct, and they're trading not blind with the correct information. So you have no idea how much of a resource that Adara is for everybody. And thank you everybody for the kind words.
We have a super chat too.
Oh, we did?
Thank you to Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple, $10. My first super chat was for Oklo Call. My send is for Google Call. You guys gave me money today. Thank you so much to Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple. That's that person's name. Thank you to 3/7 of the Meg 7 there for your $10 super chat. Much appreciated. Sprouts, Farmers Market as well. People were asking about SFM. SFM here with the sales miss, and EPS, not sure how it compares to estimates, but that's the deal with Sprouts. So that's what's happening here with SFM. I do want to talk about Mercado Libre in a minute because they are not liberated here. This is a really rough report, but I think they're not super urgent or anything. So yeah, I want to, if there's anything else you're seeing right now, Neil.
No, it's that SFM. And again, probably not a stock we trade, but every now and then you'll look at something and you just cringe. That is a cringe. That's a cringe-looking chart. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Dropped System said, "Can we all agree Microsoft is a buy at this level?" I tend to think of it this way. Well, the 50 period, maybe not. Look, more technically the 50 period, but if you guys can see this last earnings, right? Spike. Fail, I mean, you can call the fail 555 and then pull back. And it was a huge beat. And everyone's like, how crazy was it? And it just sold off after that. And all we did is find a bottom eventually and then rally to the top in just a couple of weeks and then fail that high. So, and a few people have mentioned in the chat, and I agree with them. If it feels like a technical drop on a good quarter or a great quarter, a lot of people are going to say, then yeah, you buy the technical support level. And the first support then was 513.50. I really should make that bigger. And where did it bounce? More or less the same thing. I don't know if it's to the penny, but very close to that. And it also happens to be the 50-period moving average. That's why we pointed that one out. So that makes sense. I think it's a little bit different when it comes to Meta, because at least with Meta, they're looking at that top line and being like, oh, what's going on with that? You can't miss by that much on EPS. So it's getting challenged a little bit more. With Microsoft, there was nothing in that report that is going to make you scared to buy the dip or hesitant to buy the dip. With Meta, I'm going to be more inclined to see what happens overnight. I want to see what goes on with that call and see what the reaction is. How they explain the EPS is going to be very important to me, and then how the market reacts to that tomorrow. Because with this stock, if you're dip buying for the long term, like what do I care if you get $680 or you get $704? Like it doesn't matter that much, but I'd rather the confirmation that there isn't something amiss here with Meta.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting look for sure with MET. I do apologize, I'm just quickly typing here some other earnings for people in the chat. But yeah, I think with Meta, that is a really interesting point with regards to that one-time tax charge. I want more details. Like people were joking in the chat, are glasses somehow getting tariffed now? Like what's happening there for Meta? But all jokes aside, it is kind of shocking, especially if you're involved in Meta and you see this number out of context and you're like, "Arr?" But I want to talk about Mercado Libre because, oh my lord, this report. So revenue, beating estimates, 7.41 billion versus estimates of 7.19 billion. That's up 31% year over year. Sounds great. EPS, $8.32, well below estimates of $10.32. And it's down 22% year over year. Now, their operating margin, 9.8%, well below last year's margin of 12.2%. Now, their gross merchandise volume here up 28% year over year, and apparently their growth is reaccelerated in spite of pricing pressure coming from Brazil. Their PV is up 41% year over year, ad revenue up 56% year over year, monthly active users up 29% year over year. So this is another Meta situation with a massive EPS miss, but unlike Meta, we don't super have it explained, especially because the rest of this report is quite stellar, Neil. It's quite good.
And it's barely, it seems at least it's getting the mixed reaction being flat that you would expect. I also noticed that you didn't say that they split. So
I did not.
Once again, this $2,200 stock that nobody trades will continue to be this $2,200 stock that absolutely nobody day trades. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but there's always options out there. Although remember, Mercado Libre, and more importantly, I'm going to forget about them, Carvana for this one. If you do a split, more people will play options in your name. And if you happen to be a shorted name, maybe that's a thing that you're interested in doing. Carvana, not that they're listening to me, not that they care, but a split on this name I think would be pretty solid. And you don't have to do a big one. I think it could matter a little bit here, but yeah, we'll see. A lot of people continue to ask, do you think Meta is a buy? The difference, as I said before, the difference in terms of just looking at what happened, the reason I can say Microsoft, yes, everything about the quarter good, and then you just look at it technically on the daily chart, it's like, okay, well, the most obvious levels, we're at bounce today. So yeah, I would buy it off that level. With Meta, there was a significant EPS miss. So there is something that you can point at. That's more of a put the 3-day rule in effect, got to hear the call, got to see what's going on underneath there, get some confidence from Zuck, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I want to hear. Let's not forget, only a few minutes to go here was Fed Day today. We did get a quarter point cut like was expected. Obviously, Powell's comments somewhat the whole, well, what do you do if you drive into the fog? You take your foot off the gas, and that shocked the odds of a December cut to get another quarter point a little bit, and that caused a bit of a market drop. While that was going on, you actually did not see gold run higher. It continued to fall to the downside a little bit. So GLD, I might have expected would bounce a little bit, did not. You also had, it was a pretty weak day for Bitcoin going into it. And on the flip side, this did catch a bit of a bounce going into the end of the day, kind of following along with the Nasdaq. So gold stayed lower, the Nasdaq was able to bounce. But I think the best story this afternoon is going to be the 8.5% that Alphabet is up. That's what we like to see. Gold Bills just asked, how do tonight's earnings affect the market's projected open tomorrow? It's a bit mixed, right? So you go from Microsoft, everything good about it, but it's down slightly, but not huge, to Meta being down significantly, and these are the names that actually matter, and then Google being up. So it's a bit mixed that way, slightly favoring the downside, but then you have the CapEx spend coming out the way that you wanted to see it. So the AI plays, the NVIDIAs were able to hold up. So overall, I don't think we got much in terms of direction for the overall market. And I would tend to say that the Qs agree with me, because we're basically where we were at the close, right back into the middle. So a bit mixed. It would have been, this is going to be an easy thing to say, but it's obviously true. If we don't have that EPS miss on that one item from Meta, then the market probably stronger, despite what we just saw there on Microsoft as well. Oh, did you just say Cliff is doing an offering?
Yeah, Cleveland Cliff's offering 75 million shares. I just saw it like 30 seconds ago. It just came out there. So I wanted to post that. It's falling off the Cleveland Cliff.
Yeah, it's down like 9%. Falling
makes sense.
Oh, you already said it. You can't beat it. First of all, she's got the perfect memory and everything, and then you can't beat her to a pun either. And then for the most part, usually I give up. I don't try to beat her to a pun.
I don't care if people beat me at puns. Like, everyone jokes about me versus Obi pun contest. I don't care. I have no problem with it.
Because you know you'll win. That's why.
Well, I don't know.
I've already said you whoop Obi's butt in the pun game. I love Obi. I just think you're definitely the queen. It's already 4:30, Adara.
Also, you're on the thing now, and you're eating non-pineapple pizza.
Oh, I can't see it.
And you're wearing your classic blue flannel shirt.
It's like I can't see it because of the angle of the desk, so I have no idea. If we can throw it up so the viewers can actually see what we're talking about.
The classic
big screen is up.
There we go, right?
Okay.
You see what I mean? Like your blue flannel.
Yes, eating real pizza
and it's not
without pineapple. That's what I like.
And Sharif is inexplicably holding a chicken.
And we're all younger. Yeah, because he loves eggs.
Oh, that makes sense. Wow, I'm slow on that.
Sharif eats 17 eggs a day.
Is there an egg coming out of the chicken?
That is an absolute fact.
Yes, there is. I love that.
How is it coming out that way? It doesn't make sense.
So I love that half the people in the photo are on their phones. Joe is crying for some reason. Brendan has 2 phones, and then I'm just in the corner ignoring y'all. I love this is an amazing image. Shout out to Ramin for that.
I feel like I'm winning at life there. Everyone.
Yeah,
I'm just eating a pizza. I'm laughing in that one. I'm eating a pizza, which everyone can get on board with. Sean's on his phone, which is just chill. That's what most people do. But crying, eggs, jam the energy drink, I think that's perfectly fine as well. Yeah. And then Brendan doing 2 phones at the same time.
And screaming.
You know how you can tell how old I am? See what I just did? And I get this all the time because I did this instead of this.
I still do this for phones. Who's calling my phone?
And you're young. Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe it's not old for you.
I didn't have a cell phone until I was 12, which for my cohort is pretty old.
What do you mean it has hold on, that pizza has pineapples on it? No, it doesn't.
I don't see the that's cheese.
No, it doesn't. There's no pineapples on that
cheese.
pizza, everybody. Because then it wouldn't be, then it wouldn't actually be, then it wouldn't be a pizza, because that's not real. But you know what time it is, everybody. It's already time for a little bit of roll call action. Before we get into that, I think it's going to be pretty obvious what we have to. Major earnings day, everybody. And when it's a major earnings day, then you know Adara's going to get that work, which he absolutely did. So first, thank everybody on the team, whether it's Fabian, whether it's Andre, obviously Ramin, fantastic graphic. We love that picture of us. To Mark, and of course Rob and Randy getting that up so quick so you guys can all enjoy it. To Sean, to Brendan, to the Midday Boys, Sharif, and Joe. But say thank you to Adara. She put in a lot of work on a day like today. She works overtime, literally speaking, when we have these earnings. So jump in the chat and say, get it, Adara.
Thank you very much for that intro, Neil. And I want to thank Neil. Thank you so much for being here doing these earnings. Thank you to Sean. Thank you to Sharif. Thank you to Joe. Thank you to Brendan. Thank you to Ramin, Fabian, Andre. We've got Mark working on the TV. We have Randy, Rob, Russell, and we have everybody you see, everybody you don't see. Always a big thank you to everyone. Thank you to High Vibrations, BTC Heaven, Doc Watson, Green Day Dean, KC 526. We've got Travman, Hinsey, Jules, Grov, Victory Mindset, Pelican, Joseph Schmo, Ron Miller. We've got Dinkelberg, Marie Schwans, Chris Strader, Nesta Marley, King Clutch, Los Pollos Hermanos, Stewart, Donkey Trader, Sean Murphy, Zero Gravity. We've got Saul G, Julia's Journey Diaries, and we'll stop here with Patrick Irving and A Day in the Life. Thank you to all of you, and also thank you to these markets for giving us so much excitement every single day, day in, day out. And guess what, guys? We'll be back tomorrow with lots of madness, and we cannot wait to see you then. Have a great one, guys. See you at 8:30 a.m. bright and early with more Eli Lilly earnings.
And before the bell, we didn't even talk about that. Eli Lilly before the bell, that's a big win. And of course, the reaction to that big move to the downside by Meta. Not looking good for them, but looking absolutely great for Alphabet. And you know I'm going to say it to end the show. We'll see you tomorrow morning. This has been Trader TV Live, brought to you by Beta Pro, by Globex. And let's go Blue Jays.
Yeah, Blue Jays.